Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox Podcast number 82. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy.
The disc late guy.
The disc late guy, joined here in studio by Johnny V. Yeah, if you're out there and you're live.
I was thinking this might be the first time we've been late for non-technology reasons.
Well, I guess, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
I'm not sure.
And late is a relative term. Yes, we normally start at 9 o'clock. And tonight I had a very unique opportunity. We'll talk about it a little later. But I did just get here from a Milwaukee Admirals hockey game.
That's Milwaukee's local minor league hockey team. They're a feeder for a couple of the other bigger hockey teams that I don't know who they are.
I don't know, but that Civ guy was not very popular there. People kept yelling his name. Then both teams had one. It was really weird.
Huh.
I know.
He must be foreign, like Canadian or something. With a name like Civ.
Something like that. But it was a really good time. And again, we'll talk about that a little later. But we're going to switch things up tonight. We got a really good show for you. I think they say that every night, but we do. We got a great show. We're missing out on our Dynamite because he's actually in Mexico, relaxing with the family. That's how well we pay him. Hashtag disc golf rich. That's what it gets you. So he's in Mexico, but we're going to open the show tonight. We're going to have Paul Ulibarri join us for Uli's picks, and then right after that, we're going to be talking to Jennifer Allen. We're going to be talking to David Wiggins, and we're going to be talking to Simon Lizotte.
Oh, we are talking to Lizotte.
Yes,
that's a surprise for me.
See, that's what I'm doing. I'm multitasking while promoting golf. Lizotte says he's on board. So we literally have the furthest throwing people in the game of disc golf.
In the world.
Yeah, wow. So looking forward to it. So let's move right into our first segment of the night. I think he's even got music, folks.
He's got an intro.
Let's do it.
Paul? How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, buddy. How are things going on? Where are you at? We should always lead with that. Where are you at?
I'm in Tennessee right now.
All right. So what happened with you this last weekend?
I played a tournament in Louisville, Kentucky.
And how did it go?
And we're glad we didn't pick him top 4.
Oh, yeah.
Awkward.
Had a rough weekend, but ended up taking 5th place. And took a little money home, so it was always good.
Okay. And give us a quick recap, since we don't have Dana giving us scores. Give us a quick recap of where you were and what went down. And how did 4 people cheat?
Yeah, those guys, I'm telling you. Hey, did you guys, I can't see you guys.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Don't worry
we
about
can
that.
see you. That's what matters. The world can see you. Especially with that bright yellow shirt.
Wow. Yeah.
I could take it off.
No, Dana's already got that segment.
No, we've covered that before. We're good.
Throw that music back on.
That's a different music.
Yeah. That's for the after show. And that's Smashbox with 3 X's.
Oh, you guys are terrible. Yeah, this weekend went really good. I played the first round and ended up making the lead card. And so I got to see it all unfold, including myself
unfold. Did you see you unfold as well?
Oh yeah, I got to watch the whole thing.
What? So I'm looking at the results here. You shot a 61, which was a 983. Where did it go wrong? Was it just, were you off with your drives? Were you not hitting your putts? Where was your problem this week?
I think I missed 14 in the circle. It was a pretty bad putting weekend for the first time this year.
Unless you played 300 holes of golf, those aren't good stats.
No, I've been putting really, really well this year, and then so it just kind of snuck out of nowhere, and I didn't have 4 rounds to bring it back. So it's like one of those things with 1-day tournaments. It's like if it shows up something like that to where you're having problems with one shot or another, or you're putting, it can really bite you.
Sure.
So I'm going to sidetrack for 2 seconds, since we're not going to go over a lot of the overall event stats elsewhere. What do you think then, exactly after what you just said, what do you think about World's shift going to that, shortened like maybe 4 rounds or 4.5 rounds as opposed to the 6 or 7?
I hope it makes it more exciting. I think it's better for the athlete too. I mean, it's a grind.
Yeah.
7.5 rounds. Plus usually it's multiple courses, so you have to practice, 2 weeks in advance. You're just throwing tons and tons of shots to learn the courses. And so for me, I'm actually really excited about it going to the 4 rounds. It's just less on my body, less mental preparation, I feel like. And I don't know. I think obviously the best players in the world are going to do what they do and end up on top. But I think it'll be closer and more exciting for sure.
Fair enough. Well, like you said, if you don't have some rounds to maybe pick things back up or get a move on it,
it's going to be who's hottest that weekend.
Kind of,
or that week, so to speak. So, otherwise, at the Louisville, Kentucky event that you were at, Mr. Brad Schick, PDGA 7992. Oh, probably nope. I was going to say the lowest PDGA number, but of course, Dave Greenwell has to sneak in there with his 962. He ended up winning. He looked like did they have a playoff for first?
Yeah, they did. Uh-huh.
So how did were you able to watch the playoff? How did that go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was actually really exciting for them the whole entire time. Put it to you this way, I had a 1-stroke lead after the first hole. And the next 8 holes, Will got me by 10 strokes.
Ooh.
But he did have a stretch where he went birdie, birdie, eagle, eagle. No, birdie, birdie, eagle, ace.
Oh.
And then birdie, so that helps the cause.
So that's how he cheated. So he didn't bother putting. That's not fair.
Yeah, no, and so he not only gained strokes on me, and I think it was Gary Costa who was leading after the first round. But he gained strokes on Brad, who was playing very well. And then on the back 9, they just kind of went back and forth with really good play. Came down to the last hole, and Will had to make about a 32 to 35 foot putt to push the playoff, and he made it. So
awesome.
Yep, and then the first playoff hole, they both kind of threw shanky drives, and Brad kicked off a couple trees and ended up getting a closer putt than Will. Will was about 45 or something and left it a little low, and then Brad sunk like a 20 to 18 footer.
All right, so it didn't last very long. The playoff just went to 1 hole, but congrats to Brad Schick on a win there. Very nice.
Really nice.
Anything
he plays
else?
Really well.
Anything else you want to note within we could run through the divisional winners quick, or a couple of them, but anything else you need to note?
Oh, David Greenwell playing open and getting last cash.
That's pretty amazing considering he's been playing disc golf longer than all 3 of us have been alive.
Right. He took down some really good players for that last cash spot. I think Chris Dickerson was in there along with Tyler Horn, Paul Oman. A lot of 1,000-rated guys that Greenwell had to beat. So have to throw a shout out to David Greenwell on the good play.
Very nice. For sure. It didn't look like there were any open women playing. There was no Grandmasters. He could have played in Masters, I suppose, but
right.
He chose to play where the most competition was, where the most players were. So good for him.
Yeah, very nice.
Taking home the Masters was David Cox in that event. So congratulations on him shooting an 18 under. I don't know if that was the same. Was that same? Do you know if that was the same tees and everything you guys shot?
Everything was the same.
Everything was the same. All right. So, in theory, would have tied for 3rd in Open.
Yeah,
so
just off the pace by a stroke. All right, so let's get to the picks. That's what we're all here for. Some of us more than others.
Oh, geez, he just doesn't let it go.
Well, if you guys would challenge me, I mean, then maybe. Are we going to rename the segment to Tear Bears picks?
No, we're not.
I mean, because that's what
I feel
people.
Like a good reference is Terry's going to be like the Warriors this year. He's just going to have a super hot start, and then come playoff time. I think me and Johnny are gonna pull it out in the end.
I hope so, but I wouldn't compare him to the Warriors. That's the last team I'd compare him to. So, looking at last week we did Tournament 54 or Tourney 54 over in Connecticut, and the 3 of us all picked Brinster to win.
Yep.
And I want to say congratulations, Steve Brinster, on taking 2nd.
Yeah.
Eesh. Yeah, he put up a good tournament. 2nd's nothing to scoff at, but ruined it for all of us. So that was all pretty much a push. He ended up losing to Craig Cutler.
Good friend of his.
Correct. Shooting, and Craig shot, 21 under par to Steve's 18.
And on the last round is where he really made his move, if I recall. I don't know if you can go back to that, but I believe
I can. Yeah,
he made his move. He was down. Do some math. He was down 2 and ended up winning by 3.
So yeah.
So that's
or down 1.
Yeah,
maybe.
sorry, down one. Yeah, ended up winning by 3. So he made his move and shot some great golf. Shot a 10.58.
Now the other people who picked Craig Cutler, myself picked him to take third, and you picked him to take third.
Yep.
Someone didn't pick him.
Yeah, it was probably me.
Yeah. So Yuli picked Brinster, Bobby C, Adam Goodman, and Andrew Tebazinski. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it. Yeah.
I actually picked Jeff Cahill for third.
Oh, did you? Oh, I had Adam Goodman here. I'm sorry, Jeff Cahill.
Well, either way, it's the same amount of points.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awkward. So you got 1 point for Brinster taking second when you picked him at first. I myself doubled your score and pulled in 2 points. I had Brinster, and did have Craig Cutler in there, so I had him at third. Terry pulled in a whopping 3 points. He had
just like Steph Curry, 3-pointer.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, good Lord. So maybe you are. Maybe you are. I'll give that to you. You had Brinster at Brinster winning. Clearly, as we said, he took second. Jason Dorr, you had his second. And did I see that Dorr took
fifth? I believe.
Fourth. Tied for fourth.
Tied
Fourth.
for
No,
yeah,
not
yeah.
tied. Just fourth.
Yeah,
fourth on his
place.
own. Then you had Craig Cutler, who won. And then you picked Tyler Grady, who ended up taking fifth, if I look. Sixth. So just out of the, and Bobby took seventh, so our picks weren't,
I had a pick who after the first round was in dead last, so I picked pretty good there.
Yeah. Was that like just a bad round or did he? I don't know.
I don't.
That's the research for you. That's our superior research coming in and.
Yeah, that was a rough pick on my part there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's quit living in the past.
So that was last week. The point totals are as such. Yuli sitting at 18 points. Myself sitting at 20 points. And Terry still riding that hot week number 1 up by 8 on me for 28 points.
Wow.
That's just a mediocre night for my boy Steph.
Wow, you were just
saying.
Likes that. All right, I'm switching the reference. You are the Carolina Panthers.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I hate Cam Newton.
Yeah, way to go.
You are Cam Newton.
No.
So this week we went with the Mishawaka Meltdown in Indiana. And I'll go first because I don't think I've gone first in a while as far as my picks. This week, my picks. Pick number 1, not going too far off the reservation with Richard Wysocki.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Followed by number 2, your good friend and someone who's used to taking second right now, Will Schustrick. I don't care how he takes second, if it's in a playoff or it's straight up. I got him at second. Followed up by, I think, one of our biggest fans, Dutch Napier, Batman.
Dutchy, what up?
Dutchy. I think Dutch is going to pull through for us this week. And fourth place, Tony G. Tony, I believe it's Ganger. Not sure. But Tony, I got faith in you. Don't let me down.
Good pick.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
So then we'll let's go Terry. Terry, what do you got?
Well, I decided to switch things up a little bit. And there's some obvious choices in there, but I wanted to, kind of shift things around. I got some points to play with, so I was gonna take a few chances here. I'm gonna go with our pal Mr. Wysocki.
Oh yeah, points to play with. Just easy there.
I mean, fair or not, it seems pretty obvious that Will and Ricky, are out above the rest in terms of their ratings. Obviously, they're out there playing probably more than anyone else. So Will and Ricky could be interchangeable, but I went with Wysocki edging this one out. I think it'll be close. Then I moved over to Tim Barham, Team Discraft Tim Barham. I know he's going to be familiar with the courses a little bit more. He's from Michigan, so that's where I moved him in. They're playing 4 courses over 4 rounds, and Tim's going to know those courses better than Wysocki or Schusterich. So there was some logic there.
It's a solid play.
And then I did go with Mr. Schusterich taking third. And then he's fallen off a little bit this year, but I think he's going to get back on the horse, and that is our friend Batman. That's Dutch Napier, Team P, Team Prodigy, Dutch Napier. So looking for him to have a solid finish. He's going to have to do a little bit more of a drive to get up there as opposed to, say, Tim or someone else. But looking for Dutch to have a good showing this weekend. So that's what I've got. Again, that's Wysocki, Barham, Schusterich, and Napier.
Nice.
Count it.
All right, well.
I won't dab. I will not dab.
My picks go as followed. In first place, Will Schusterich. I liked what I saw this last weekend. He made a really clutch putt on the last hole to push that playoff, which means he's riding some confidence right now. I do believe Ricky Wysocki lost C tier in Utah this last weekend to, what was his name? Brock Shepard. So, I don't think you guys probably saw that, but I look at all the scores and he lost to Brock Shepard, so his confidence is probably a little shattered after the 1100.
Wow.
Is that a
rated weekend the weekend before? So
is that a rip on Brock, or is that a compliment to him?
Who knows?
Okay,
Wow, shattered.
Ouch.
I hope Ricky can pick himself up, pick the pieces up, and move on.
Saki bomb implosion.
Explosion.
Okay.
I don't even think I can finish.
You didn't last weekend. Hey, ouch, it cuts.
Whoa.
It cuts. I'm such a jerk.
Man.
I know.
In third place, I have John Perry.
Yep. Solid.
John Perry's a solid player. I heard the courses are fairly technical and short, and he has a very technical and short game that I feel like will play very well to his advantage. I didn't pick Tim Barham, even though, like you said, he's from Michigan also. He has that other 1,000 rating that's in the field. And I believe he was a past champion also from last year. So good pick. Terry, was that you?
Yeah, that was me.
Yep, so good pick, Terry. And then in fourth place, I have to give it up to somebody who's probably played more tournaments this year than anybody. He had a really good finish last weekend, and you got to see it, Terry. Can you guess who it is?
I got to see his finish last weekend. Oh,
Jamie Moser.
Yeah, he's
This is a little awkward.
I hope I'm right in that I had mentioned earlier somewhere, I think I did, that he's hanging out in Florida. I don't know that he's going to come back up.
He might signed up for the tournament.
When I spoke with Jamie, and I think we talked about it on the show maybe even, means you need to listen in for all of it. Jamie, when I spoke with him at Throwdown the Mountain, he had said that he wanted to hang out in Florida a little bit longer. He was working on some personal weight loss goals, and he said that was a great place to do it and enjoying the golf. So there's a chance he could be back, but then again, I haven't seen him going on any Facebook rampages about refunds lately. So maybe he will be there. But if I were a betting man,
last week and he won a tournament in Florida. Actually.
Yes, he did.
So he's probably feeling confident. He's ready to go to A tier.
No, he's staying in Florida.
Okay, well here's the deal.
No,
we'll let Paul
take 0 points for that.
Find out, and if he chooses, he can send me a message. If he chooses to change his pick, we'll let him change his pick up until a day or so before.
No, Bull. These are Yuli's picks.
Oh, that's just a big white screen for us.
Yeah, Yuli.
James Moser.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not signed up.
He is on, because I looked at that and I thought, is that the same Jamie Mosier? I'm like,
it is.
It is, because I looked at where it was from, and then I'm like, I could pick him because I know he's playing well, but I was actually thinking about picking Al Hermosillo because he's been playing real hot as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go and say Yuli prides himself in being the tour knower guy, and I think this is gonna come back and bite him in the old Yuli butt. because we'll see. I could be dead wrong, but when Jamie last spoke to me, he very much implied or told me directly he was planning on hanging out down there a little longer than originally
How long's
planned.
a little longer? Because he did. He played a tournament this weekend.
No, I think even longer. So there's one way to find out, and maybe by the end of the show or the segment, we'll have an answer from Mr. Mosier.
People saying on the chat line.
They're saying that he's in fact signed up. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, I'll ask. You guys figure it out, but I'll ask Jamie if I can.
Now, as
congrats to Jamie on his win this last weekend.
Yes.
By the way.
Yeah, and as we are being reminded, this did happen on the Disc Golf Answer Man as well, where Drew Gibson had told them that Ricky wasn't going to play. Ricky showed up and won.
Whoops.
Yeah, awkward.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we're not also the Disc Golf Answer Man
I know.
either.
I know.
We check your sources, bros.
Figure it
Answer
out.
Man.
We have a reputation.
Yeah, something like that. So again, I know he signed up. I understand why you would have went with him. He's a great pick and all. I just don't think he'll be in that state. So we'll see.
This is the second time this has happened to me. I picked Rico.
Yeah.
And signed up, or he dropped out again.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I love knowing things you don't on tour.
Yeah. It's actually your job to know more.
You are the media. He's just a player.
That's true. It is your segment. All right. Well, I've sent a message to Jamie. He's probably on East Coast time right now in Florida. But either way, actually, he's in East Coast time, whether he's there or in Florida, in Indiana or Florida. But I'll see if he messages me back. I sent him a message on private messenger on Facebook, and we'll see. But again, Jamie's pretty active. So if he doesn't, if something like a refund didn't happen, he would have been a guy that would take that to Facebook. And I haven't seen anything out of him.
I don't know if I can ever pick him again.
Well,
I really don't.
sometimes you can't. If you get burned, I hear you. All right, is that like fouling out? Is that what you just did? I don't know where we want to go with that, but we'll see what happens.
It's only two. It's only two.
That's two. Yeah, that was a technical though.
That's right.
All right. You got anything else for us, buddy? I'm sure at some point throughout the show I'll get an answer from Jamie or one of his entourage or crew or posse and maybe get a confirmation. But
sounds like you guys have a good show. I just wanted to say congratulations to David Wiggins on his record-breaking weekend, and that's really awesome. So,
as well as probably Simon and Jennifer.
And Jennifer, is she on the show also?
She is. We're going to get her on probably right after we get you off of here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And congrats to all those people who went out and competed and broke the records. I mean, all of that's going to be great for the sport. So
awesome. Well, we know you're a record number kind of guy, so maybe on another show, another time, we'll talk a little bit about that stuff with you as well. But
see you guys.
Thank you. Good night.
See you, Paul.
All right, and there we have it. I'm going to have to come up with a clever nickname for him. Not guessing things right. Paul's non-picks? Paul's unshows? I don't know. Not no shows? Either way, we'll see. And again, hopefully, so all our smashies know, hopefully everyone's put their picks in. And of course, as always, if you want to participate in the Smashbox TV picks, just go out to smashbox.tv/picks. And then there will be a drop-down menu with the tournament that we're referencing that you want to participate in. Put in the 4 different PDGA numbers and you can play along. Very cool thing is not obviously next week we're going to be talking about the Mishawaka Meltdown results, but the following week I believe we're going to use the women's championships out of Texas. Is that what we
we're going to do the women's championships out of Texas.
So that will be very cool, and those will be our picks for the following week.
There was talks about possibly doing the collegiate as well, but I'm not sure if that's going to work out. We'll kind of have to see and figure all that stuff out. All
right. Well, without further ado, we have a new distance world record holder, one of a few that we saw this weekend. However, she's out there crushing most people, men or women, in the sport of disc golf.
If you had to put a percentage on how many people she
99%,
99.9, 99.8, something like that,
of people
she throws further than.
Yes, I would say 99.9% of people. If there's 5 million people that play disc golf, she outdrives 99.9% of them. All right, so I think we've got her on the show ready to go. We're going to cut our video feed to her. Jennifer Allen, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
good if my daughter can fix the computer to work.
Isn't that the greatest when, you know, your 10-year-old, your 12-year-old, whatever she may be, comes up and be like, "Oh no, Mom, I got this. Hold on." And
Yeah.
like, look.
I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for her.
Tech support at its finest.
And we have Netflix now. Look, Mom, I'm awesome.
So, Jennifer, you have done what no other woman has done. You've thrown it 563 or 68? 568.
69. It was like 68.56999 something.
That's a round up to me.
Yeah, we'll round it to 700. So, no.
Yeah.
But the furthest throwing woman in all of disc golf, how does that feel?
It's still kind of sinking in. Like, it hit me driving today. We drove all night long. I got in at 9:30 this morning and took a shower and saw my first patient by 10:30 today.
And your full-time, daytime job is?
Physical therapy, home health.
Okay. So
Full
go ahead.
day of that, and then followed up by picking up my kids and 2 baseball games. So busy day.
Yeah, you're a very busy mom and full-time worker, as well as really stepping up your game in terms of playing more, competing and traveling more for tournaments. How in the world do you have a moment to breathe? I always think I'm busy, but you're so much busier.
One of these days I'm just going to fall over.
Yeah.
So.
Now, talk a little bit about it. We'll get to the details, but now talk about your experience going to this event. You know, you're traveling and what it really meant for you to be involved. And this was your first ever official WIFDIF competition, correct?
Yes. So I don't know really what kind of got me going on it last year. I talked to Wiggins at Worlds and told him I was really interested and I wanted to just see what I could do. I hadn't really, I've done distance competitions in our state, but it's winds kind of come and go and shift, and the way the area that we use isn't the best location. It's pretty narrow, so you have to just throw no matter which the wind is going. You have to go the certain way no matter what. So not the best condition. So I kind of was just curious what I could do, and talked to Wiggins about it and told him I was interested, and just kind of the ball started rolling from there. I wanted to start training really hard. Talked to Avery and David and Simon and several of them just to ask them, what I needed to do to train, and I trained really hard all winter and the last couple months, and I thought I'd be ready, and you have no idea until you go out there how it's just so different. You just don't even know.
Well, and some of the things, clearly wind is a huge part of what we're going to talk about, but
Right.
even the elevation, the dryness, the dust, all of those things. Compare what your experience is like throwing in Oklahoma versus what it was like throwing there, and just how vastly different they were.
Okay, so the entire week before, we had 40-mile-per-hour winds all week, so I practiced in it. I practiced with my normal max weight disc. I practiced with the 150 bosses that they gave me to practice with. Still could flip all those extremely easy 40-mile-per-hour winds. That's where my dad has a little rolly measuring wheel thing, and so I was accurately measuring them and was getting 550, 530 pretty common. I'd throw 100 shots a day. Throwing 100 shots a day was nothing. I'd work out at night, and throwing 30 shots there, you could barely walk the next day. You're so sore. So I still haven't figured that out. Like, I thought I was trained and ready, and I'm so sore.
So what about the we'll just say the dust and the ground and your footing, all of those types of things? How did they factor in?
The footing was amazing, and I think they picked that. I mean, ask David, but it is like an amazing area because it's perfectly flat. We can turn around and they'll tell you can move that line. If you think the wind is moving or you'd like to throw it in a different direction, they rotate that line for you. So you can go 360 degrees, whichever way you want. It's perfectly flat. They don't have to look through the grass or anything to find your disc. It's a perfect location. However, it doesn't make your disc fly easier. I don't think. It's hard. I never thought I would not be able to flip over light plastic. I can flip over my max weight disc. So it was strange.
So comparing it, when you're looking at the two, what to you feels like the was the biggest challenge specifically? Was it one thing, like you just said, whether it was the likelihood of the disc flipping, or what was the one thing that you feel was the biggest difference for you?
The stability of the disc was amazing. That shocked me. And I talked to Avery and Wiggins both right before I left, and they said, make sure you get some 130s and 140s.
Really?
And I didn't. Like, I wasn't ready. I thought, no, there's no way. I don't throw that light plastic. So I got a lot of 150 bosses, some 150, 160 turns. I did get some turns right at the very end because I got a little nervous. And I was like, I need some turns so they'll flip a little easier. But I still didn't get lightweight. So I got out there, and it was really amazing. So there's not very many of us. And we all just had plastic just all over the ground, and barring everyone's disc. Michael from Taiwan, used my katana every time and broke his record with my katana every time. I used Karina's disc. We were all just sharing plastic and just grabbing what we thought might work at that moment.
Who kept the disc? If it wasn't your disc, did they let you have it after you broke the record?
Yes.
Okay. Like, no, I'll take that. Thanks. That's probably worth some money.
Yeah. I signed one for her, said thank you very much, Karina.
It's currently on Dollar Disc Golf Auctions on Facebook. So describe the setup. Those were some of the details of the place, but describe the format, maybe that's a better word, for what was happening over the 3 days, and clarify the idea of the competition, one versus another, and throws. Clarify, all of that for everyone out there.
To me, I didn't feel like we were just going against anyone there. You're just going against the records. Is that what you meant?
Yes, exactly. Sure.
Okay. So, yeah, we're all very supportive of each other. Everyone was cheering each other on. They run an amazing event. It was just perfect and very well organized. They have two wind gauges, actually, documenting everything. The wind, direction, speed, weight of the disc, what time it is. Everything is very, very well documented. And that's the hard thing. Like, it's not like we went out there, this was scheduled months ago. We didn't say, oh my gosh, I hope it's like 80 miles per hour today. Like, no. And I knew, throwing here, I knew when it got up to 45, it was pointless almost for me throwing outside. I could get a few to just really pan, but most of them just smashed to the ground. So that last day, the first day felt great. I should have stopped with the very first throw. I wouldn't be so sore right now. Second day, we had 0 wins. So the guys were sore. They all were very smart and said, we're not throwing. The girls wanted more. We all wanted to just break as many records as we could. So us, the 4 women, were out there, a couple guys, and did mini and roller and overhand and anything we could possibly try to break. We were out there just having a great time. I am a little competitive. I really wanted every one of them. And so I was very determined to get the overhand shot, upside down shot, whatever it's called.
Yep.
And was 0.2 meters short. But I completely extended as far as I possibly could, and hyperextended my elbow. So I was pretty swollen and trashed for the very last day. So when we pulled up, and literally a dust storm went across, and we couldn't even see each other out there at one point when we first, 9 a.m. we all met outside. So 9 a.m. this huge gust came through, and I thought, this is stupid. I should just get in the car and head back to Oklahoma, because I knew I could not throw in those conditions. Just a guess, but I feel like the velocity that a woman can put on a disc, and maybe some of the masters men and whatever, but we do not throw as fast as a guy. So to throw the distance shots, they're thrown straight in the air, and it's a big Anheuser shot. It's no hyzer flip shot. It's a huge, turnover shot, and you never want it to hyzer out. And that's what's so difficult there. You think you get this great shot, and you're all excited and watching it, and it just dumps. And you get 300 feet. So you just, it's kind of frustrating at times because I could just throw max weight straight and I could go further. And so we're trying to do these kind of trick shots of throwing them really high and turning them over and getting them to glide just right to get the max distance. And the stability out there is freaky. Like, 138 katanas will hyzer out, and you're like, it's weird. So, so we just kept trying. So the last day, I didn't warm up or anything. My arm hurt. Here's 15 shots. And I threw, I think, 7 different discs. So I probably could have got a few better ones if I wouldn't have wasted 7 shots on discs that went maybe 250 feet.
Sure.
Well, and that's the big argument. Everyone, and we'll talk more obviously with David about this as well, seeing as how he, broke all records. The wind. Everybody thinks, oh well, gosh, they did it with a huge tailwind at their back. How hard is that? And it's as Jen's saying,
not what we wanted.
Yeah, you usually don't want that much wind for most players.
I wish they would have recorded all the shots because and ask the guys, but watching them, I didn't watch every single shot, but watching them, so many of their shots only went, and it sounds, only 500, 600 feet, but even they couldn't get them all to go really far. It was so hard to get that flight.
Yeah, because the tailwind, for those of you that don't know, our audio listeners, usually a tailwind, what it'll do is it'll push your disc down, and it's a lot harder, especially, and then that's why they're using the lighter weight plastic to get that big turn, to get that, if you're a right-hand backhand thrower, that right edge down and the tail of the disc up so the wind pushes it. But
right, and not too much. I mean, it's such a very, very fine line, and it's really, you don't want to tailwind, you want it more over the left shoulder cross.
And that's exactly what's being asked out there. And we'll ask, I think, all 3 of our distance throwers, and yourself included tonight, what to you, now experiencing this for the first time, what do you personally feel like would be the best wind over your shoulder off the left, you're saying, but then what, if you had to guess, what would you think would be the optimum wind for you and for you trying to set a record?
I think our first day was perfect.
Okay.
And that's Mr. David Wiggins Sr. said, we had a perfect day the first day, we had 0 wind the second day, and we had insane wind. We had Oklahoma wind.
So it just to be
I think it was it averaged 12 to 18. I think the first day.
Okay. So just to be perfectly clear, you very much did not want or wish for the wins that were there on the final day, even when Simon broke both Simon and then Wiggins broke records. That wasn't ideal for you personally.
I don't think for women general, no.
Okay.
Because the way that they had to get that distance, they had to get it up so high in that wind to carry far enough. I mean, we could get it up in the wind, but you have to get it way up to continue to carry a mile.
So that wind benefits some of the faster arms, some of the bigger, already bigger throwers. But for a lot of the people, we'll say like women or masters or any
slower speed
arms, that type of wind does not really benefit you
at all, because by the time we throw it that high, it's already, the velocity of the disc is already slowing down that it just smashes it. Yep. So toward the end, which again I really wasn't trying, but I threw a couple just straight and they went further because I was just throwing my normal shots. But it was all wrong disc selection.
Sure.
But
I think you hit on something.
I really didn't care because I knew personally I could not get it to go in that wind. I tried it. I practiced at home.
I think you hit on something that isn't practical at the moment, but what is a really, really good testament to this competition, which would be, in a perfect world, if they could record the distance of literally every shot, even the 200-footers, the 400-footers, the 600-footers, if they could record every single shot to show you just how freaky or how perfect the line needs to be hit in order to get a world distance shot.
Yeah.
I wish that could have been recorded.
And I realize that that's volunteers and that's manpower, and you would think, well, who cares? It's a 400-foot shot when somebody should be throwing 500, 600, 700, 800 feet. But just from a statistical analysis, it would be interesting to look at it going back. Now, one thing I wanted to clarify as well for all of our listeners, what you've said really is there's 3 sets of 5 that are thrown through each. You have that; those are the maximum amounts throughout those 3 days of this competition. So there was some confusion out there about people saying, "Oh, you just go out and throw whenever you want." You do. It's very structured. It's loose. It's loose, but it's structured in that you have 3 sets of 5. So
in order. I mean,
correct.
The first day we did 2 at a time. So we had the pro men and an amateur or woman or masters, age protected or gender, throwing with each other and alternating. And then the top throwers the second day get choice of when they throw. And it was very, very structured. It's not just let's go throw frisbees, as many as you want at all. And I will stop and say our spotters were amazing. Mm-hmm. Thank you to all of them. There was probably 5 or 6, and they worked harder than we did.
I was going to say, I wonder what their Fitbits read for the day.
Oh, God, just running like... Now, yeah, I suppose running like, oh, no, that's only like 550 feet, and then running for one that's 300 feet, then running... Because they have to go shag all those discs for you. Yeah, and not just... Yeah, not just on a line, anywhere. Those discs can spray everywhere.
Yes. And they were so good and so accurate. And then that last day, I don't know how they could see. And they were eating dirt. Just, it was bad. It was ugly.
Now, to clarify, what throw did you break the record with? I think you said, but I want to make sure. The very first throw. Now, do you think, I know Simon has said this in the past, that
he did it last year, very first throw.
Yeah, he says that he doesn't really stretch or throw or anything like that because he wants his muscles more wound a little tighter. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to stretch them out. Do you think that was the case, or did you just hit the perfect line and
stretched.
You stretched, okay?
I stretched. I stretched, and the first day, I don't remember how many I warmed up, but we were all warming up, and so it was just beautiful that day outside, and I guess it actually was a little chilly. The second day, where there was 0 winds, it was sunny. We were tank tops and shorts. The first day it wasn't cold, but it was chilly. So, but we were still warming up and excited to throw. So we were all throwing probably quite a bit of shots on the side to warm up. The second and third day, not so much. we were sore. We were all icing and.
Well, one thing you said is earlier, and it made me think of Vegas, which you guys are about 45 minutes south of for the weekend when you're doing this. You said, you threw that, and you're like, I should have just quit, or I feel like that's the mentality at the tables, right? Once you're up, you're like, oh, I need to just walk away, but you didn't because you thought you could do better, and that's talk about the Vegas mentality there.
Yeah, I want 600, and now, I mean, I know I thought I could do it there, I really did. But it's good now. I don't know how. I got to train harder. Like I thought I trained and I did not train enough.
What are you going to do to train harder? What type of training are you going to do?
And I asked all of them. I asked Simon and David and all the guys.
Don't ask Simon. He'll tell you McDonald's.
What was the difference? I was throwing 100 shots a day. I was lifting weights every night. How was that easier than throwing 15 shots a day? So I guess you truly are contracting every single fiber muscle in your body. And when I was throwing those 100 shots, I felt like I was throwing them hard, but...
Well, and probably more pressure too, like mentally, a little bit more pressure, which is a little bit more exhausting.
Muscle sore, I don't know. Something did. Something hurt.
All right, now
experience, and I really hope the people who think that, man, I can throw a disc so far and blah blah blah, go even on your own time. Go throw a plastic out there. You will not believe it. I didn't believe it. I trust Wiggins and all them, and I didn't believe them. And I got out there and I was like, holy cow! It was amazing.
Now you threw a 360 to break it or no?
No.
Just
okay.
Regular. Because I thought I saw there were a couple of videos of you out there, one of which I think you did throw a 360.
I threw a 360 every time, except for the last. I threw one the last day.
Okay.
I was training the 360. I actually felt very comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think pressure-wise, I was afraid to overturn it again, and I don't know why, because they're stable. but I still thought I was going to turn him over. But I threw 4 regular backhands and 1 360 every time, every set.
Okay, so that's the 360 I saw then. Yeah, because your 360 form looked really smooth from what I could tell. I've thrown 360s and they're not good. I'm usually tripping on my own feet or a fall or something silly, but it's not an easy thing to get down your footwork.
No, and maybe the gymnastics and cheerleading and all that has to. I picked it up.
It didn't help me. All my gymnastics and cheerleading skills.
I don't know why. I'm sorry. Wiggins had sent me one of his videos, YouTube, to watch in slow mo of how to do it, and I started practicing into a net in the winter, and then when it warmed up, I started practicing outdoors, and I was practicing the 360 every day, and then I got to throw it at the memorial. I didn't bust it out during the round. But at Fiesta Lakes on, Terry, do you remember the hole along the driving range? It's like 450, 480.
Yeah, okay. I think it's 13 or 14 coming back.
Yeah, so it's perfectly set up. So I threw it there twice, and one was underneath the pin. But it was just like flat tee pad, so it was like perfect place to practice the 360. I don't know if I'd ever have the guts to do it during an actual round, but I did do it twice in warm-ups and parked the hole, so I was pretty excited.
You got to talk to Greg Hosfeld if you want a guy who's comfortable. He's got the tiniest fairway, and he has no problem lining up a 360 drive off of it. Good guy to follow. All right, is there any I guess I hate to feed into it almost, but is there any final hater addressing that you want to get off your chest that you feel like, whether it's the things you read? I mean, and we all know it's social media. People keep, tearing everyone else down for accomplishments. But is there anything you'd, like to permanently put to rest here in terms of your experience?
I think you could ask every one of us out there, if we could pick a perfect win, it would have been the first day. And it's really sad. And I think, Wiggins will say, when he was warming up, he threw a couple warm-ups first. He was eager, he was ready, and willing to lose plastic, I guess, because you couldn't see him right at the first. But he was like, it's just going to be a trick shot, and
Sure.
That's what Simon and him, are kind of known for, is trick shots. We had amazing arms out there, Alex and Double G and Robbie. These guys couldn't get them. And people know that those guys can throw a disc extremely far. And again, if we could have recorded all of their throws, I think people would maybe have a little bit better insight that it's difficult. It's extremely difficult. These guys can crush plastic, and they could not get them to go far.
Well,
I mean, they did.
And we've said, recording these guys in that is tough because they throw so far. Usually the clouds, there's not a cloud in the sky, so the disc gets thrown, so high up in the air that the camera is hard to follow. But what I would just like to see is, film the actual throwers.
We need filmers. I mean, there's all golfers out there. So it's hard for us to keep up. I mean, we all tried to take a few pictures for each other. But then it's just, it goes by so fast, and you don't, we don't have laptops or anything out there. You don't want to waste all your data, and you're busy, and it's just like you don't have time to just sit there and record. So you definitely need someone out there.
Well, quit begging. I'll show up. And I've addressed it before. I was always maybe wrongfully under some impressions about a limited amount of media and things that could be out there, but and having a good conversation with you the other night, along with Robert, the director, I think moving forward, you might see some big distance from the disc golf guy coming out there. Wait.
Yeah, that's what's so sad, and the boys probably know more about it, but I think it's sad. I mean, you don't want any. That shot was amazing. Both of those shots, and Austin's as well. The 17
under 16,
16-year-old under 17 record. Amazingly perfect time. Like everything was just perfect to get that, and so you don't, want to take away anything from those. Those were amazing shots. Will they ever get those wins again? Probably not. Talking to David's dad, he said in all the years he's done it, they've never had a day like that. And then I heard they're having like a huge dust storm out there right now, I think. So it was just, this is planned months in advance. We didn't ask for it. We showed up at the tournament to play.
Exactly.
The conditions we were given. We didn't want that. We want to see our true strengths.
Well, and as we continue to talk with our with both Simon and David moving forward, we'll probably get more into the discussion then as to parameters and setting certain limits, maybe different classes of records, so on and so forth, and we can get into more of that. But
so one of the questions before we let you go, are we gonna see your name on any plastic, on your Blizzard plastic, or?
I don't know.
Because sounds like a smashy petition.
Sounds like one, because I guarantee you we're going to see Mr. Wiggins on one. He's had his name on one before, so...
And you would think I am not going to throw out gender,
yeah. I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying. Hashtag girl the sport.
Yeah.
That thing. It doesn't hurt to have a nice little other side of the gender coin.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it was neat. I mean, I hate to say I'd never thrown a wraith before. I've thrown a couple, but it's not a disc in my bag. I have certain discs in my bag, and I have very few. I throw the same ones, kind of deal. But I was glad I did use a disc that was, I would say, maybe a little more female disc. I think probably more females throw wraiths than men. Maybe no.
What are you trying to say? That's my favorite.
Yeah, he throws.
You throw wraiths, Terry?
Yeah, he throws
wraiths. One of my favorite drivers. Yeah.
Yeah, the old white pro wraiths. Those are some really choice piece of plastics.
For the bosses, and that's what they sent me. Throw the boss. And so I think it was cool to set it as a female with a different disc, because it's the speed. It has to be. It's just different. Yep. So we couldn't throw a boss out there. I immediately, the bosses they sent me, let the guys throw them. I was just like, we can't do it.
Well, the one thing what I'll wrap up by saying here is that the distance records set in the crazy wind on the final day were still set by obviously two of the furthest throwers in the game. So of course, they were wind aided. Everybody agrees on that, and we can address that later in terms of what can happen, years moving forward. They were wind aided, but it's not like Johnny V or I showed up, threw a disc up there, and it just happened to travel 1,300 feet. So that's where I think you were saying earlier, we can't discredit the sheer athleticism and the power and the precision and the throws. Those were still all had to be there. It's just they happen to catch the right wind with it as well, and I think that's the disconnect. It's like it's not just a fluke. You couldn't just throw a frisbee up in the air and say, "Okay, I'm going to cash in on a record today."
Yeah, and as we know, throwing in that type of wind, it's different than throwing even in the 20-mile-an-hour wind. You have to make adjustments. These guys know how to throw in every type of wind. So
every one of us started throwing plastic. No, not that one. Let me see. Who's got this? It was insane. Every one of us changed what we threw, and we didn't warm up. Who wants to warm up in 60? Who wants to go get those and warm up?
Yeah, you can't. It's tough to ask the volunteers to shag those when they're just practice throws.
They did a few. They were amazing, but so I mean, we wasted a lot of shots just trying to find what is good to throw in a 60-mile-per-hour stable environment. I mean,
awesome. Well,
it was tough.
Jen, we're gonna let you go. We've got a couple other long throwers as well. We are honored to have you on the show. We think it's awesome, and you could say it's awesome for women's disc golf. It's just awesome for disc golf.
In general.
Remove even just the women's connotation. I think it's just awesome in general. We're really proud of you. We think it's awesome that you threw as far as you did, and
and light winds.
And exactly on the first day.
Winds.
And we look forward to seeing you more on tour and having you on again.
I'm looking forward to 600 next year. 600.
Get it, girl. 600. All right, thank you. Have a great night. Get some rest. You definitely need it.
Bad.
I know. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Bye.
All right, and of course, your new distance world record holder in Jen Allen. Very impressive. We didn't give her a chance. She is, in fact, sponsored by Innova and Grip. I know she would have said that had I thought to ask her that, but yes, obviously sponsored by them. And She's got some serious game, and you're seeing her move up in the playing ranks as well.
Yeah, she's consistently finishing higher and higher. Her practice is paying off, and clearly her distance doesn't hurt her.
Well, and I've done a lot more talking with her lately, just saying that she's told me she plans to be playing more and touring more. So for, not seeing her around the country for many years in the last few, she's really taken to it, and I think we're going to see a lot more of her, and she's going to be out there traveling. Again, she's busy. Pretty sure she has 3 kids. 3 kids, and works full-time, disc golf, and she's just got a lot of things going on, and she's finding a way to get out there and get it done. So I think in a moment here, if we can... Oh, I did get an update in the meantime.
Yeah, what's your update?
Good old Jamie Mosier. I asked, my question to him earlier was, in fact, are you playing in Indiana this weekend? And I got back a 2-letter response.
Yep. No.
I'll say it's half of nope. It's a no. So
no, I'm not going to miss that event.
Wrong. So Jamie Mosier, it's going to be hard to take top 4 or 4th for that matter. I mean, I know he's a talented individual, but
Uli, if you want to change your pick, I'll let you.
The only reason I argue against that is because he's the one that claims he's so in the know.
I know.
So I think it was kind of going against the grain there,
but
by giving him that pass.
All right, so here's the thing: if Jamie had said, yeah, I'm going to be there, and then on Thursday decides like, oh man, I can't make it, then do you let him change his pick? I mean, Jamie signed up, and now is not making it. I have no problem. Like, for whatever reason, if Jamie had plans to make it, and then somehow had to withdraw, and he put it on Facebook like, oh hey guys, I can't make this event.
What's the reason? Where do we draw that line?
I don't know.
What if Jamie on Friday morning says, flat tire, stuck in Kentucky? Do we let Paul change his pick?
Yeah. I think any of us should be allowed to change our picks up until the time that we actually play.
I don't know about that. But in a moment here, we're going to work on getting David Wiggins here. We are running a little later than we hoped to. Sorry, Simon, if you're out there listening. I know we wanted to get to you as well, and we still want to. We hope that you're out and available. I told him it might be around 10-ish our time, and he said, oh, that's way past my bedtime.
Simon doesn't have a bedtime.
I don't know. He's probably singing music or playing a guitar somewhere to
outside some young lady's window or something.
I don't know what he's doing. In just a moment, once he, I think if he turns his phone to landscape, we'll be able to get him dialed in a little bit better. That should probably work perfectly. And after having the longest throwing woman in the game, we are now joined by the new distance world record holder, David Wiggins. David, it's just another world record. How many distance world records do you need?
I've been throwing 8 years of records. It's in my blood now.
It's very impressive. As some people may or may not know, like you said, you've got a bunch of them. All these different categories, 10 under 10, under 12. I'm just going to assume you have 9 of them, 10 to 19 or something. But you've got all these world records. It's in your blood, huh? What makes you so good at throwing far?
Oh, well, I guess just growing up playing disc golf and throwing hard. I was always eager to try and reach every hole on my home course, and then when I could do that, I wanted to do it with a rock or a mid-ranger, and then when I could do that, I wanted to do it with a putter. So ever since I was young, I was throwing hard, and then I started to hone my skill in. People noticed I could throw far, and my dad started looking into records, and we actually started training, throwing every winter when I was 9 years old, and last few years I really started getting into it and treating it almost like another sport in itself, just training, throwing far, and the athleticism that is surrounding that. So I guess just preparation and hard work and natural ability, all those.
Do you know how many distance records you hold off the top of your head?
I've had several broken by Nicholas Duran. I believe he broke my 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13-year-old records.
Oh.
And at the High Desert Distance Challenge, Austin broke my 16-year-old record. So maybe just 14 and 15.
And then the longest ever, that one too. So one of the questions that someone asked of Jen, and we didn't get to, but is a great question for either of you. What do you do differently in terms of working out? Are there certain, somebody asked if it was upper body, lower body, anything in particular for you when you're trying to focus in on getting your body ready for distance?
I really try not to. I really try not to focus on upper body too much. A lot of the workouts I'll do are explosive. You don't want to be big. You don't want to be too big. That just slows you down. I mean, Simon, for example, he's relatively thinner, long arms, very fast, and that's what it's about. It's about speed. How much mass you have isn't relevant when the disc comes out of your hand. It's how fast it's going. So just explosive speed workouts, calometrics, that kind of stuff.
So was that Avery Jenkins' problem? Why he didn't break the records? He's just too big and ripped. So it's awesome. We've got two of the other longest throwers on the planet, and Simon Lizotte and Eagle McMahon, also out on our chat boards. Everybody's saying hi to them. When you went out there, Jen just kind of told us her story. What was your experience going out there for this particular event, especially after knowing just 4 years ago you had set the record yourself? What was the experience like this year for you?
Well, as a lot of people know, I haven't been playing as much disc golf in the past year, 2 years. And I knew I wouldn't be able to play as much disc golf, so I pretty much started focusing my efforts on throwing distance because I could do it a couple days a week here at school and hit the gym and whatnot instead of going to tournaments on the weekends because I have to do homework and stuff. So it fit my schedule better, and I found out the date for the event, and I believe that was late fall, early winter or something. And when I found it out, I really started training hard for it, and I had high expectations, and conditions out there, they were pretty crazy. And I'm sure Simon and everybody else out there will tell you that. I didn't train for that.
No. Now, talk about, Jen said everyone kind of skipped the middle day. There was virtually no wind or very little wind. Talk about the winds on Friday. Friday was the first day. Talk about the winds and maybe even what you thought when you saw Lizotte's, new record-breaking throw.
Friday, what I considered was, what several distance throwers would consider a very good day of conditions. We had steady winds around 20 miles an hour, gusts in the mid-30s, and as far as the conditions we've had out there in the desert for distance competitions, that seemed like it was going to be huge. And Simon connected with a perfect throw, dropped a bomb. It went over 900 feet. And, I mean, that was crazy impressive to all of us. And for most of us distance throwers that had been out in the desert, we're used to throwing. We're trying to utilize everything we can to get every inch of distance out of our throws. So, I mean, until we started seeing conditions that were, above 30 miles per hour and just winds that were crazy. And it's crazy hard to get a good throw off. That it starts seeming like
we lost you there for a second.
Oh, there we go. He's on some Wi-Fi at his school, so we'll have to forgive him. He locks up every occasional little bit. That's okay. No, continue.
Got it?
Yeah, we got you. Yep. We're going to cut our video to you, but everyone can still see you. So go ahead.
Okay. Wait, where did I leave off there?
You were talking about the conditions and what everyone thought seemed like the good conditions for you.
Oh, and when we started those crazy winds, it was kind of weird to myself, and I think I realized when we started seeing the conditions that we saw on Monday that we need another record that's not aided by any sort of winds. But, the rules that we had gone by previously, it's very hard to draw a line. It seems to me that it needs to be all or nothing as far as having aid for wind or having no aid, because any advantage any advantage at all is not what's physically capable by yourself.
Yeah, or even predetermined. So now is the perfect time to ask. You're the furthest throwing human that's ever thrown a disc. Moving forward, it makes sense probably to have, say, 2 or maybe 3 tiers of distance records, maybe a 0 to 12, a 13 to 24, and a 25 to 50, or whatever those magic numbers are. I'm just making up numbers. Would those be fair?
I would say it's an all or nothing kind of thing. You either have wind or you have light and variable to no wind.
Okay.
I believe Olympic standards for throwing javelin or discus or something like that is under 2 or 3 miles per hour or something like that. I mean, I think there needs to be a record that it's as close to possible as no wind, and I know that's very hard to attain due to the restrictions of places that we can throw in those conditions. You'd also have to have the right day, or you'd have to be indoors. So I don't know. It's going to lead to some thought, but ultimately I don't think having 10 to 15 miles per hour, 20 to 25 miles per hour bracketed records would.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
right when you said you don't think having the bracketed records would, and for dramatic pause, we lost you at that point. But I'm sorry, you're saying you don't think they should be bracketed in that sense.
All or nothing.
Okay.
So now, would you prefer? And obviously, there's been talks about this. There is the indoor record, which 2005, I believe it was set at some aircraft carrier, some hangar. Is that something now that maybe the WIFDF should look? Do you think they should look into? Is that something you'd be interested in trying to break?
Love to get all of the top throwers out there in a isolated environment indoors and see what we can do. I feel like that would be the best representation of our actual throwing abilities.
And I'll ask now, if we put you in an airport hangar, now even humidity can come into play inside,
Sure.
any kind of indoor environment, and then still, sea level could come into play. But let's just say we put you indoors with no wind and relative to no humidity. Give a stab. What do you think your max distance is probably around?
Probably mid 600s, 650.
Okay.
Right around.
And how about with a driver, though? No, I'm just kidding. So that's obviously substantial, and I guess oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You cut out on us. Go ahead.
I think you'd see. I don't think anybody would break 700 indoors. I think you'd see throws in the 600s, and you hear people say that they can throw 500 some feet without wind, 400 some feet without wind, but you're going to see smaller numbers if you're actually isolated like that, I think.
Okay.
No more internet distance, as we love to call it. What did you think, especially after Simon's throw and then everything we saw on social media? What did you think about Scott Stokely's response? Did you go out and see the little video he had produced? What did you think of that?
I did watch that video. It was a great response, and it definitely reflects what we were doing out there. I'm not claiming to be able to throw 1,100 feet without wind. All of us, we're trying to throw as far as possible using everything to our advantage that we could. That's why we go out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they started throwing records out there. That's what you had to do to have a chance to break it. So, when you have a day, even with crazy winds, you want to throw because you want that chance to break it, because before you somebody had an advantage. But that's the thing: how far can you push that advantage and still have it legitimate?
So, here's a question: do you think you personally right now have killed the distance competition? Because as we know, you guys register for this well in advance, and 6 months or whatever in advance, and the odds of getting those type of wins on that particular weekend are 1 in a million. So do you think that next year you're going to either see a change or just no one's going to sign up?
Yeah, I guess time will tell. I think I think there's definitely going to be some changes. I don't think there'll be distance competitions out in the desert with those conditions that aren't. It's not going to be for the intent of breaking records at this point. Yeah, like you said, trying to plan a day around having conditions like that would be happen. But
what does it feel like? However, again, things are going to in some way get clarified or changed. But what does it feel like knowing somebody will more than likely never throw a disc further than what you've thrown?
It was pretty cool, honestly. It's something, having the world record. I had it previously, the overall record, but just something I've always wanted. It feels pretty good. And, it was with the winds, but it took skill on top of throwing far to get that record. And I'm ready to move on, bring on more distance competitions. Let's see some isolated conditions, and we'll go from there, I guess.
Well, I want to iterate to everyone out there. Is some, you said you haven't been playing as much. Obviously, I've known you since you were, this tall. You were actually shorter than me at one point, but you're not a one-trick pony in throwing just a disc 1,109 feet. Worlds a few years ago at the Pro Worlds, you swept every single game, did you not? With edge, putting, or you were at least a finalist, or you won it. The distance competition, mini golf. Didn't you sweep literally every game at Pro Worlds a few years ago?
That was pretty wild.
Yeah. Thanks for beating me in some of those. No, so clearly, and then you're rated what, 10, 12, 10, 19, 10, 22?
Just played a tournament here in New Orleans, actually. Came in second place to Matty O.
Okay. Well, and somebody out on the board, or Pell Wade, I think, was out on the board giving you a hard time that you're not current PDGA membership. You're not current, but I'll follow that into a question, though. You're in school. You're all of what, 20?
20 years old, turning 21 next month.
Okay, so you're all of 20 years old. You're in school, and as you said at the top of the show, you're not, just golf's not as a priority. Understandably, you're going to school, which is awesome. What do we see from you moving forward this year? Are you just signed up at every hangar or mall in America doing distance demos? Where are we going to see you?
Disc golf is definitely one of my priorities still. It's just the fact that I can't travel on weekends and go to these tournaments every weekend like I used to. I still play disc golf at least, or I try to play at least once a week. I'm out on the course, You can ask the guys out here in New Orleans, but it's one of my priorities. I'm going to play Worlds. I'm going to play USDGC. I just, I can't play every weekend. And the membership, I'm going to possible. I don't check PDJ.com or my membership that often, but let that slip. So
that's all right. Start a GoFundMe. So, so it's we kind of just asked Jen about it, about the name on a disc. Clearly, your name has been on a Blizzard boss before. Have you had any conversations with Innova or any of the guys over there?
Not yet.
And now you broke the record with an R-Pro boss, correct?
4-gram R-Pro.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. You kind of cut out. Hold on. When we talk, it takes a second for your audio to kick in. So say it one more time. So what did you break the record with?
154-gram R-Pro boss.
Perfect.
All right. We'll see if sales shoot up on those. Now, R-Pro bosses, I'll be the first to admit, they aren't the most popular version of the boss. What brings you to throwing them?
It was the right disc for the day. It was a understable disc that was very fast, so I knew I could get over on it, and that's what was necessary to harness the power of the wind, if you will, or to get the ideal throw off. A lot of discs were acting very overstable, and the R-Pro bosses I borrowed from another during the competition, which was nice. I mean, we were trying out all sorts of discs that day, but the R-Pro boss was the one I felt would be the best for the conditions.
Now,
Nailed it.
yeah. Jennifer had mentioned, it's a very sharing, very giving, very, the camaraderie is high. People are enjoying themselves. It's kind of a team effort when you guys are out there. You're competing against records, but yet it's very friendly out there. And that doesn't really surprise me. I think we see that in a lot of overall, events, regardless of what they are. When you're seeing other people throw, your Simons and Double G's and Robbies and all these other guys throw, Alex Geisinger, are you taking notes as to what the disc does? Because their form is all very different from yours, which is very different from the next guy.
I would say, I guess I'm taking a look at how it's flying. It's hard to base anything off of anybody else's throw because it's different. It's coming out with different spins at different angles and everything. But I'm watching how it's riding, how it's flying in the air, if the wind's gusting, if it's getting air bounces and whatnot. But you can only take so much from it.
Now, can you talk a little bit about, Jen mentioned just how even for her as a woman or a slightly slower arm speed, for her to get it up in the air and to ride it the way yours did, or the way even Simon's did, especially on that final day, what kind of power and technique was needed to overcome some of that?
Well, yeah, that was pretty unique. As I said before, it was conditions that I hadn't had hardly any experience throwing in. She has had some experience. She said prior to the competition she was throwing in a good deal of wind, but it seemed as though it took a very fast release and arm speed to penetrate through the wind and to hit the angles that were necessary to really have an advantage over less windy days. Only a few throwers actually had throws that were further that day due to this, I think.
Exactly. And again, some people are like, oh, I could just throw any disc up into the air and it's just going to take it. And that's so not it. Rob, who was the event coordinator and organizer, I think he put out a video today. I don't know if Johnny can bring that up, but if he could, it would be awesome. I watched the video earlier. We've said it. You can't necessarily follow the disc, especially with that wind and that kind of dust. But I watched your reaction. I saw the video and I saw you. What were you thinking, upon that release and having any idea? I mean, clearly they weren't expecting it to go 200 feet over their head. What were you thinking upon that release?
Once it came out of my hand and I saw it, it started panning out just right and it caught the wind and I knew it was gone. Was thinking too, like, oh my gosh, how far is this going to be? Never did it myself or anybody else think it was going to be that far, but yeah, it was definitely something else to see that thing soar through the air.
What's the camaraderie and fellowship between you and Simon? I mean, now it's really been the two of you. Again, there's very formidable competitors in your Geisingers and your Double G's and all those other players. We all know that. But you and Simon now have exchanged records back and forth a couple times over the last few years. What is that interaction like between the two of you?
It's fun. I love throwing against Simon. We're neck and neck in more isolated conditions. We've come within meters of each other in several other distance competitions. I mean, we're always pushing each other harder, and I love throwing against him and look forward to future battles with him.
What's next in terms of what you're concerned about? Is there a record? I mean, there's sidearm records now. There's mini records and all those types of things. Is there anything else that's on your radar?
I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing. Still throwing distance. Still working out. Still training, and I want to keep throwing far. So.
Another great question that also just came in as well, and we haven't covered it, is when they're doing measurements, exactly how are those done for accuracy?
We have 2 or 3 laser rangefinders. I know a couple of them were accurate to 1/10 of a meter. Some of the better ones money can buy. I know my dad has bought a couple of them over the years, and they're pretty spot on. And
golf, so you mentioned the big tournaments you're going to. What are you studying? I think that's really the question that remains out there. What are you studying right now? And this is your sophomore year of college?
I'm studying naval architecture and marine engineering. There's actually a ship above me. There's one over here too.
Wow.
I'm in school. I actually live on a boat, so I don't have Wi-Fi, so I'm in my school, so I can do this Skype.
Oh, very nice. Well, we appreciate that. Any parting shots? We definitely want you to thank your sponsors, but any other parting shots you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my dad for all the support and everything he's done. Same with my mom. This competition wouldn't be possible with a lot of people. My dad, Robert McLeod, Jeff Stoops, Innova Champion Discs, always gives a ton of support to me and to helping out with the competition. Suzette Simmons is always there as well. I also like to thank the throwers that came out. Can't wait to throw with Simon and Alex Geisinger again. And all my fans, everybody watching, giving me support. It's been unbelievable the past couple of days, all the messages I've gotten. Just thank all y'all for watching.
Well, we appreciate it. I appreciate you catching up with me and being able to chit-chat back and forth. I know it was a really busy weekend, and Jen, talked about the chaos that was going on out there in terms of trying to keep up with everyone. It's kind of what it's the situation we've set up. Everybody wants this information. Maybe you can blame us a little bit, but everybody wants this information. And when records are being set and broken and rebroken, it's very exciting stuff to see and hear. So we do appreciate your time, and thanks for giving us all the good updates.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're gonna cut you loose. We're gonna cut over. Robert McLeod was graciously giving me the direct link. I know I saw it earlier today. We're gonna cut over, and Johnny, you're gonna be able to show.
Yeah, we'll let David go, and we'll actually watch David throw like 1,109 feet. So,
Meh.
David, thanks a lot. We appreciate you joining the show, and we'll hopefully catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. Study hard, buddy. All right, and there you have it. And like I said, we're going to move over here and give you David Wiggins. Now, this is it's about a 1 minute clip or so, and Robert McLeod had posted this earlier out there today so that you could see it. Again, impossible, especially with his arm speed, impossible to see anything come out of his hands or be able to follow it, but we'll be able to see a little bit of his reaction. And without further ado, we've got David Wiggins and his unofficial world record throw.
I'm actually going to improve the quality on this.
So that was, in fact, one of the things, first of all, you hear everyone yelling and screaming because they knew immediately that it was something unbelievable. And then secondly, of course, you hear the wind is whipping and howling, and right out of his hand, it's just gone. People say, oh, I can't even see it because you
can't. We're watching it now at half speed. So obviously he throws the 360 and then unloads. And you look at the angle that just launches straight up on. It really is an amazing throw, and look at those Innova banners just bending under that wind.
Yeah, so it's one of my favorite parts again is just seeing everybody else kind of hoot and holler and give him the high five almost immediately upon release. You've got Simon out there congratulating him as well. He has no idea really what the exact distance is going to be, but he knows that
he knows it's a crush.
And he even says within the video, you hear him say, it's just like a trick shot. And you see Alex Geisinger and, like I said, Simon and others all come up and give him the high five. So pretty cool. He's a little out of shape, it looks like in the video. No,
yeah, he could really go to trim down a little bit.
So that was, in fact, of course, David Wiggins. Right now, he is your unofficial world record holder. I know they have to submit a few details over to Stork, to Dan Roddick. I know he does some of the official record keeping and the details there. So as of right now, the term unofficial is being thrown around, but
It's as official as it's going to be, I think. I mean,
it's officially huge.
Actually, Roddick put out a really good article that's out. If you, I'm sure you can find it. It involves talking about when he first started doing distance, and they had at some point thought. I think the funny anecdote was they had decided like, well, maybe we should throw into the wind because then your best conditions will be with no wind. So any given time, then there's no advantage. And then he said they all sat around and thought, nah, we want to see the thing fly. So
yeah, and we've seen people say things like online. Believe it or not, there's some know-it-alls online. Just so I know.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
But one of the suggestions, and I'm not just picking on this one, but one of the suggestions was just that have them throw both with the wind at their back and then into a headwind and average the two of some sorts. And that's
that particular type of wind. I don't know if you could throw anything into it.
No.
I don't know if you could get it 350 feet into that headwind.
Yeah, it's
like you'd have to pull out the most stable thing you own, and I don't know. I don't know if you can get it.
You're still not at that distance. So, and again, in just a moment, we're going to have Simon Lizotte. And I'll admit, after hearing of Simon's record on Friday, I'd immediately reached out to him. I also immediately reached out to Jennifer Allen after she had talked about her throw and said, we'd love to have you guys on the show. And then it didn't matter whether it was, Simon or Wiggins or anyone that ultimately walked away with a record at the end of the weekend. We were just glad to have some of our long throwers and make this our big distance inside the smash box.
Big D in the studio.
I don't know. There you go. All right. So I think we can welcome him to the show. Used to be the furthest throwing human. Now he's second furthest. Simon Lizotte.
Relax.
Simon Lizotte, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Good. I just noticed how delayed my video was.
Yeah, if you're watching, you're probably about 30 to 40 at least 40 seconds behind what we're actually doing. So that's what we always tell people. If we're going to call you, be ready a couple minutes ahead of time, because by the time you notice it get dialed in, everyone's behind. So
that's so we could censor you and all your naughty words.
Ready.
Okay.
All right. So tell us what was going through your head when you saw David throw that shot. Everybody watched it. We just watched it in slow-mo. He threw it virtually straight into the air. What were you thinking when he released it?
I was thinking, uh-oh. Because we've never thrown in winds like that, so it was new to us, and we didn't really know how to throw. And his first one just got dropped out of the sky. And I didn't even know if it was possible to go really far in that wind. So then a second one, he just threw twice as high as the first one. And obviously it helped pretty well.
What did your throw look like? You also, crested 1,000. You obviously 903 on Friday, but then over 1,000 on Monday. What did your Sunday, Monday, whatever day it was. What did your throw look like?
I tried to copy Dave. He went first. I wasn't going to throw unless someone broke my record, because I was being sore. We were all a little tired. It was a really long weekend. So I stepped up and just tried to do exactly what he was doing. I didn't switch discs like he did. I tried using the same disc I was using before, and I caught some really good ones. I thought my angles were pretty good, but in those crazy conditions, it's just about luck. Getting it up there is all we can do, and then it's about whatever happens.
Do you think that changing your plastic, because you were probably throwing your Blizzard Boss, do you think changing the plastic would have helped out?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
What would be, and we asked this to David, and we'll ask it to you, what would you feel like for you personally, for your throwing style, what do you feel like is the perfect wind conditions or speed?
Perfect as in...
For you, if you wanted to, if you personally, and maybe it's extreme, maybe it's not, but if you could design your own distance competition and you could just turn a dial, what would that be at for you to have a wind?
Well, probably like 1,000 miles an hour wind.
Okay. So less than 1,000. What would that number be? Don't say 999.
I don't know. It seems like the more the better. I didn't know that before yesterday. We thought like in the mid-20s was the perfect win because anything faster will just drop the disc. But it seems like the more the better. Maybe if it gets above 70 or 80, it'll be a little much. But I would go right around 50, I guess.
Okay.
And so now you were one of you were one of the most experienced guys out there throwing in the distance competition, because I compared it to say Alex Geisinger, who clearly throws a very long way, but Geisinger hasn't been in the desert and he hasn't had these types of competitions. He just outdrives everyone in the Midwest. What did you take? What did you know going into this that gave you an advantage or that helps you out?
One mistake Alex made is on Friday before the contest, he threw like 100 practice throws.
Wow, that hurts my arm.
I know if I throw like 10 full power shots, I'll be hurting the next day. And he threw 100. So, when he told me he was practicing that much, I was like, oh, that's a rookie mistake right there. So I didn't throw at all on Friday. I only threw like 25 shots on Saturday and almost no shots at all on Sunday. So I learned from last year that
You're good. Keep going.
Keep going. Yep, we're here. Yours getting a little choppy, so we cut our video to you.
Yeah, the internet here is pretty bad.
No apologies.
Yep.
We cut the video so you don't have to bother seeing us, but we can see you.
Okay, yeah, what I learned definitely was that throwing less will help. And especially, I didn't warm up a lot. Even though that sounds a little weird because, of course, we want to avoid injuries. But the kind of colder your body is, the farther you can throw. For some reason, I have not really understood yet, but that's just how it is for me. Always my first or second shot is always my furthest.
Yeah, and we've heard you say that before. Whether
it's the muscles that are get loosen up after that first throw because there's more spring, so to speak, in a tight muscle, or whether it's just dumb luck that you happen to hit them on the first one or two. Whatever works for you.
So
yeah, and also I think the pressure that I've thrown in so many distance contests, and you only have 15 shots a day, like 5 shots at a time. And getting that mindset right is something you really have to figure out and learn. And him being out there was so much talk online about him crushing records. So I think he was maybe trying too hard or just expecting too much. But yeah, I don't really know. It's just good to be experienced for sure.
Well, and I think you may have nailed it right on the head, because so many people have talked about him becoming a challenger to you guys, and he just hasn't been on that stage yet. So whether he put it on himself or others did, there was some learning for him. And I know he, by his post last night, I saw him on the Facebooks, and he doesn't love Vegas as a city. I think he had a few other challenges, including an airline booking issue and some other things trying to get out of the city. He had a few challenges there. You said you were tired. I know you were out there working hard, but did you? I know you. Did you take any of the Vegas nightlife in by chance, or day life?
Not really that much. Sunday night we went out for a bit and I played some roulette, but nothing crazy or stupid.
He says with a smirk. All right, good.
I guess everyone has their different definitions
of crazy and stupid
when you're in Vegas. What about the crew? What about the group of people that were out there? It kind of resembled a tournament, very heavy on having a lot more men and only a handful of women. But talk a little bit about the group of people out there.
It was an awesome group of people. Wow, my computer is weird. Okay, it was really cool. I haven't seen Garrett Gerthy in a long time, and he's a really good buddy. Also, Robbie Bratton out there, cool to see. I've known those guys for a long time, and I've been looking up to them as distance throwers, and now competing with them side by side is really, really fun. A lot of guys from last year were there too. Just all in all, a good group of people. We all just are out there supporting each other, enjoying watching this fly really far. And yeah, it's really different from a disc golf competition. It's more like, let's get out there and just have a good time.
Now, be honest with us. You set the record at 903 feet. You were hoping no one was going to beat that, right?
Of course, besides myself.
Okay, okay. I mean, Jen Allen had talked about, when she set her record, she still wanted that 600 mark. That was something in her head as a milestone. You were the first ever to crest the 900 mark. Was there another milestone in mind? I mean, negating the wind, the crazy wind on Monday. But do you have another milestone in mind? Is 1,000 just the next logical one at that point?
No, 1,000 was never a logical one. It
Okay.
was totally a dream, and we all had no idea it was possible. 900 had been reached before. We've heard about like practice throws just being perfect, and that already felt unreal. And looking at the conditions, I remember Sunday night in the hotel room, we heard outside the whole time because it was so stormy, and the morning was even crazier. And Wiggins, like one of the first things he said to me on Monday morning was that he thinks 1,000 will be broken. And then he throws, and he threw like 1,100. That was funny.
So I asked Dave about this. Do you see any kind of categories? Maybe 2, maybe 3 tiers, maybe just, above 20, below 20, whatever. Do you see any kind of categories maybe moving forward that might need to be in place or that you'd like to see in place? Maybe I'll word it that way.
I would love to do an indoor event if that's somehow possible.
Okay.
People are saying a blimp hanger is like 1,100 by 300 with 150-foot ceiling. So if someone can rent out a blimp hanger and run an event, there you go.
Yeah, I'm keen. I would go.
What do you think what about your max distance? I know we asked this to David as well. What's your max distance indoors, you think?
Yeah, I was listening to that, and Dave said like around 600 or something, I think, or 650.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said he didn't think anyone would get out of the 600s.
Yeah, I think that's weak. I'd go 7.
Yeah, that's what I like to
Ouch.
hear.
Shots fired. Pew.
That was not a shot. That was just the truth.
It sounded like a shot to me.
Sounds like you're calling him a wimp. Yeah. Now you and Dave you guys are built differently. I don't need the degree Avery's got to tell you that. You guys are built differently.
Yeah.
Talk about his muscles versus yours.
Good question,
Was
Terry.
that- I thought so.
That's smooth. It's real smooth.
It flowed off the tongue.
All right, so he has very strong muscles. No, Dave, the only thing we really have in common is that we've been throwing frisbees since we can walk. And that's an advantage we have over, I think, almost every other thrower out there right now. And it's obviously a pretty big advantage to have because we're just total naturals. And yeah, I'm a little taller, I have longer arms, and he's stronger.
Do you feel like there's conversation going on, especially on the board right now, but do you feel like just speed out of the hand, is that very indicative? Does that help determine just how far someone can throw? Because you've been radared at what again?
Actually, yesterday during the Flying Circus, I threw a 101.
Wow.
Which is my second best. I threw a 102 in Georgia once. I've only gone over 100 twice, and all the others are like mid-90s.
Only.
Yeah. And what do you think Wiggins in front of a radar gun would do?
Almost the same. We've done it together, and it really depends what disc you throw and how angry you are.
and even
were you awfully angry after you watched him break the record?
Not really, but I wanted to unleash a bit.
Okay.
So you still got over 1,000 feet yourself. What did you think as you released that throw?
I thought I threw it really well. The angle looked pretty similar to David's throw, and just knowing from previous results is that we throw like literally almost the same distance all the time. We came up within a foot twice. which is crazy. So we know we throw pretty similar shots. I wanted to just copy what he did. It looked great, and just didn't catch the wind as well, or was the wrong disc. I thought it had a chance to get out to where his was, but at that distance, you can't really tell where it lands. It just goes and goes.
And now Jen talked about it, as did Wiggins. People sharing discs, trying up different things. What maybe they brought, didn't fly, or they just want to try different discs. Was there a lot of variance in what you were doing? Someone's also asking, is there a Disc Mania disc that you could be throwing? But was there a lot of variance in what you were throwing, or are you pretty consistent with your bosses?
Actually, the new record I threw on Saturday with the 903 was the exact same disc I threw the world record with 2014, which is kind of a funny story. I used the exact 5 same discs every set of 5 throws I had. They just seem to work the best. They're 157 Blizzard bosses, and I just feel the most confident throwing those. I did one set of DD2s, which are a little lighter, but they just don't have this straight glidey finish the bosses have. So I think the boss is just the ultimate distance disc for me.
Now that you said you broke it with the exact same disc, is there anything different about that disc? I mean, do you notice any sort of anything? I mean, is it just a hair more stable? Is it just a hair less stable? Can you tell, or is it just a disc?
The Avery pigment?
I don't know. It just goes a little further.
Okay. Well, maybe I want it then. I can throw further.
$10,000.
Yeah. Nah, I don't have that.
Is that what
Neither
it would take?
do you.
On a serious note, what would that take? Who wants that disc? How long before it's retired, maybe, and officially gets put somewhere? Or do you have to keep using it now?
Or is that disc worth anything anymore? That's a good question. I mean, just saying, like, if now that it doesn't hold the record, I mean, I'm not ripping on anything, but I'm saying it still holds obviously a lot of sentimental to Simon. But now out on the open market, we'll say, what does that go for versus what it went for a week ago?
Was that a question for me?
No, that's just a general throwing it out there, kind of just, obviously for you, what would it take for you to sell that? We'll say that.
Not sellable.
Okay.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Or because you'd have to split half of it with Avery?
No, it's mine.
Are we... I guess we asked this in a roundabout way, but did you guys kill the distance competition? Is it dead now?
Yeah, we were talking about that a bit. Wiggins and I kind of agreed on that it does not make sense to go out there and try and throw over 1,100 feet again. It just is not going to happen again unless we have the same windy conditions, which you can't plan ahead. So planning an event like that does not make sense anymore for at least the Open Pro World Record.
And are there any other places that you would like to see it? And I know we're not going to necessarily be able to duplicate it, but are there other places you'd love to see this happen at? If there was to be an open call for any kind of distance competition, is that place just the no-brainer of all obvious places to have the event?
I don't know any better places for it. I've thrown at El Mirage, which is kind of between there and LA.
Yep.
And that place just looks way cooler. And it doesn't have the highway right next to it. It doesn't have the power lines. So it looks more natural, and it's a way, way bigger lake bed. So that place might be cool.
Kevin McCoy's out there saying maybe a higher elevation. You think that would make much of a difference, or?
I don't think it. I think that elevation is perfect. I think the wind conditions were perfect, and I'm looking for new standards to set different records.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just ask it this way: are you sick of the negativity that has surrounded? I mean, it seems like all of the players there had a great time. And a lot of viewers at home did, but there's a lot of viewers out there that were really worked up about this. How do you feel about it?
I partially agree with the negative comments. even though I don't see any reasons to be negative about stuff like this. I don't understand people who feel like writing bad comments to anything. Yeah, but it just shows what the internet is like, and it doesn't matter what you post or what you do. There's always people going to dislike it. So I'm not really worried about it too much, even though this weekend was crazy. Like, so many comments and just everyone bashing each other. It was so weird to follow.
Well, and then a lot of people were kind of contradicting themselves, because after you broke the record the first time, everyone's like, oh, that's awesome, 900 feet. You know, no one really asked, well, was there a 15-mile-an-hour wind, a 20-mile-an-hour wind? And then when everyone hears that Wiggins went over 1100, so many people are like, psh, wind, pff, whatever. You know, it just doesn't seem, it's very, I didn't like that.
Really? I felt it was the other way around.
Really?
Yeah, because when I posted my throw with the flags in the background where you could really see the wind, like, so many of those wind comments, and then when Wiggins threw 1100, then everyone was just like blown away, even though there was obviously still those discussions going on.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. We must roll on different internet circles. No. So.
I'm going to agree with Simon a little bit in the fact that the first thing I think people saw when you did break it was immediately they wanted to point to that flag specifically and like, oh, look at that wind. And then, I saw it very much the opposite. And then I thought most people immediately attacked him in terms of the wind coming about. But either way, you know what we call those on the show, all those people out there.
We call them the understables.
That's a much more polite term than the official Smashbox term, which is dickbags. So that's the official term.
That is the official term.
But anyway, it's really good to see. So Robert put on a really good show, and it seems like he was pretty busy on social media. He's been helping out, even chiming in tonight. We're looking forward to more competitions. How about the mini competition or the mini world record and such that have been set and broken?
When I threw the mini record the last year, I threw it in no wind. It was like 4 or 5 mile an hour winds. So that's what we had on Sunday, and I tried again, and I threw like 135 meters, which is like 480 or something, I'm not sure, or less. And I don't think that record will be touched.
Fair enough. I know Jen was super excited to have a record on her end set in terms of that too. So to go home with a couple of records on a weekend sounds like a good time. What's next for you?
We're down in Tucson right now. Eric proudly decided last night to drive 8 hours from Vegas to Tucson, which was great. And our next stop is going to be Thursday in El Paso. We're going to do a flying circus, and then we're headed to Texas. Oh, El Paso is already Texas.
Yeah.
So then we're headed more towards Dallas, that area, doing more flying circus events. And there's going to be the Combine event with Avery, and Eagle's going to come join us at one point, playing Texas State, Nick High, Glass Blown Open, with a bunch of clinics in between. And it's going to be busy, but I like it.
It is, and I'm going to see you at quite a few of those. I think at Nick Hyde, Glass Blown, all that stuff. What was I getting? I'm sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there. Women's event is taking place there. Are you guys going to be stopping by there? Or are you guys going to be at a different tournament just in that area?
Wait, where?
The women's championships. I believe it's the women's Texas championships, Texas women's state championships. You're going to be in that neck of the woods, but you guys are going to be doing other stuff. Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Never mind.
It's the Combine weekend, guys.
Okay. Well, there you go. So some people will be doing that, and some people will be supporting the women. That's all.
Did you watch the trick shot yet?
Tonight I had the pleasure of being at an Admirals, which is our local hockey team, and somebody showed it to me. Our cameraman Gary DeDio, big shout out Gary, and he's like, "Here, Simon's got a new trick shot," and I looked at it, and it was bad resolution. Johnny will pull it up, I believe, but you threw underneath the Discmania RV. Is that where we're gonna try and pull it up on screen here?
All right, I'm gonna put it right over Simon's face
There
here.
you go. And
Oops. Whoa, that didn't do what I thought it was gonna do.
oh, so it went into a basket, which is something I couldn't see when I first saw it. So we're gonna try and play it again here for everyone.
Oh, so you skipped it underneath the Discmania van or
RV
into a portable basket. We're gonna watch that again. And and not just under the RV, a moving RV at that.
Okay, I'm impressed now. I thought you just threw it underneath there, but to show that you then skipped it into a basket, I'm impressed. Nice job.
Yeah, I know it's not like the greatest shot I've ever done, but it's something.
It is. It's a good start. It gets you back in the season. You're getting warmed up
Right.
again. You know, we're gonna. Do you have any other ideas? You don't have to share them with us, but do you have ideas right now on things you want to do?
Couple ideas, a couple ones I've already tried and failed, and they're so tough to do. I just want to do something where people watch it and go like, they have to like rewatch it 10 times to actually understand what just happened. So those are tough to do, though.
Have you ever thought of like Failure Fridays, where you have to post all the ones that you haven't gotten to work?
I've not thought about that, but I might start doing that. Even though mostly it's first takes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're all first takes.
Yes, we believe that. You had cleverly named some of those Trick Shot Tuesdays, so we'd love to see them as long as they're posted by 9 o'clock Central Time. I mean, you're kind of on our deadline now. I'm just saying, so that we can show them every night because people love them so much.
Yeah. I might change the format of it a bit if we stick to our plans, but yeah, we kind of want to involve a new kind of twist to them, but we'll see what happens. Ooh. First, I got to make some cool things happen.
Speaking of cool things happening, I'm going to call you guys out. I saw the first ever Simon Lizotte vlog. I don't think there's a vlog like there is for Eagle, but it's a Simon Lizotte vlog.
Yeah,
I watched that, starring you and Eric, the team manager. Is that his title? Tour manager.
Team coordinator.
I know you guys said it like 10 times. It included Mrs. O'Wales, but I saw a whole bunch of you guys. Now, everybody thinks they can vlog, or what? Is that easy for you?
It's just a request I've gotten a lot, and I know people love watching that, and it's really not that hard to do. So you just gotta get your phone out and film dumb stuff and then put it together and put music over it, and then people like it.
Yeah, 397 videos of myself later. That's what I say. It's really not that hard. Just put some dumb stuff together. Perfect.
Yeah, no, you're different style.
Okay, a little bit. So how often should people be expecting those? I guess that's the next question.
I edited the second week. I want to do it weekly. So I just finished editing last week's one, and it's uploading to YouTube right now, and the internet here is so slow that I don't know how long it will take.
Is it doing it right now as we speak?
Yes.
That's probably
that's why your signal's so bad.
That's why your Skype is kind of goofy, because you're probably using most of the bandwidth for YouTube.
All right. I tried to stop it. I didn't know.
It's okay.
Really bad with technology.
It's okay, Simon.
Okay, so new rule for our guests. We'll put a little note here: is remind them not to be uploading their own video.
Their vlogs
while they're trying to Skype with us. All right, Simon, we're gonna let you go. Shout out your sponsors. Can we get a quick glimpse of Eric?
Eric,
we know he's out there.
Put on your sponsored hat first.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, buddy. All right, boom in the house. Eric, good to see you, buddy. Well, any shout-outs you need to give for us there, Simon?
Yeah, I got my first whale sax today.
Nice.
Great.
And I have the coolest whale sax in the history of whale sax. It has the Frozen characters on it.
Wow.
What up, Terry?
Hey, Tina. How you doing? Wow, you are stepping up your game then.
So which is the best one? Is it like the Olaf one, that Anna?
No, I have
all of them.
It's both the same fabric with Anna and Elsa.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little mad, Tina. She just sent me like 100 or so whale sacks, and if there's no Frozen characters in there,
Yeah. If you know.
You got Packers and Bears.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd
right.
be good for some.
Well, here's what I want. I'm going to be at GBO this year. Last year at GBO we got a little serenade from Simon. This year, I know it's a little old, but I want Let It Go. If Simon can sing Let It Go and play on the guitar for me, I'll have a happy weekend.
All right, you got it.
All right.
I'll provide the tuning liquid needed. Or something like that. All right, so for your whole crew, we're going to let you guys go. Thank you for giving us your time. Thanks for throwing far. Thanks to Discmania, and we appreciate it, and we'll see you guys soon.
Peace.
And yes, there you have it. Mr. Simon Lizotte, the old record holder.
He's a big Frozen fan.
Well...
And now his video will finish uploading a little faster that he's not taking up all his bandwidth.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's cute and all, but yeah, please. So for all future guests or call-ins or anything, do not be trying to upload a video while you're trying to...
we usually tell people, turn off YouTube, do all that good stuff.
Yeah, turn off any Netflix in your house.
I didn't even... we didn't talk with Simon beforehand like we did Jen and David, but that's funny.
So for a couple of people on the board, yes, if you're interested in whale sex, you can reach out to Tina directly, or you can reach out to me. I'm proud to be carrying and selling her amazing products. So if you're looking to do that, please just reach out to us. And I know we do have a few winners from last week. Your information is getting passed on so that we can get your gifts and other support items out to you guys. So we appreciate it.
And so I don't lie, we have a giveaway this week, and it's not a live one. So all you people tuning in live, too bad. What you need to do...
Well, you can still participate.
You can still participate.
You just don't have a huge advantage.
You're not going to have a huge advantage. It's not going to be just the couple hundred versus the couple thousand that tune in. So Disc Golf Nerd has kindly given us an Icon Outlaw that he's reviewed, and he wants to give it away. So go out there, search for Disc Golf Nerd on Facebook, and hopefully you can go out there and find it, and you can enter in the competition. I'm looking at it right now. He says, giving away this sweet Legacy Discs Icon Outlaw for all the listeners of Smashbox TV. I tested and reviewed this 172 Icon Outlaw, and now I'm giving it away to one of you Smashies. Johnny V and I wanted to do a giveaway that anyone can enter and win rather than just the live viewer. So this is the contest that will be open up until next Tuesday. So for all you audio listeners, don't think it's too late. Disc Golf Nerd. Do him a solid. Go ahead and friend him on Facebook or like his page, actually. Disc Golf Nerd is one of those fan pages, so go ahead and like that. So yeah, so if you want to go ahead and go out there and comment on Disc Golf Nerd's Icon Outlaw, please go ahead and do that. Give him a shout out. He's one of our big Smashies, and he's kind enough to give away a nice free disc.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Disc Golf Nerd. We do appreciate it. And if you're interested in supporting our show, sponsoring it, being part of a giveaway, or maybe even ramping it up besides just giveaways, we also have some additional sponsorship options. Please go ahead and reach out to me on Facebook. We'll be glad to talk to you about it. We can have reads, we can have commercials played. There's a lot of different things that we can do for you. So we would love to have the additional support here for our weekly podcast. And as we move into various live coverage events, as well as wrap-up shows, some of our nightly wrap-ups that will take place at these big events. There's going to be opportunities there. If you would like to get your message out there, we know we're not the number one podcast, so we can't claim that. And then there's what did I call them last night? The disc golf boys looking for answers, I think is what I referred to them as. We know they have a phenomenal podcast.
They've got a wonderful woman on that podcast.
Yes,
they're not just boys.
Too. And they need to change their name then if they're going to stick with it. We want equal coverage for the women.
That's right.
Right, Paige? So we're out there. We exist, I guess. So
a couple other news. Are
we one of the top 5 disc golf podcasts?
I doubt it.
I'm just saying we could be.
If we're lucky, if we break top 10.
Can I give you some breaking news that I just learned moments ago?
Yeah.
So I would like to thank Robert McLeod, who has, in fact, orchestrated this last event and is just a phenomenal representative, doing a lot of great things for all of disc sports, not just disc golf or the distance competition, but everything that he does. And he has confirmed, he just sent me a message saying that they talked to him and Stork Roddick, Dan Roddick, that is, PDGA 003, and one of the historians of the game. They've talked about it, and they're not going to put a limit on the wind.
Good.
He says, in fact, there will just basically be an indoor and an outdoor record.
As it should.
And I think we're going to see more indoor opportunities. They're going to be expensive and hard to come by.
Yeah, I think you're going to see...
But I think we're going to see now a push to who can get that indoor record.
I think Kevin McCoy was saying that it was like $35 for Masters to throw in the competition. I don't know if that's exactly what he was referring
sounds
to.
About right, sure.
I could see the entry fees going way up if you need to rent this type of hanger, or maybe that money comes out of the whiff diff stuff. I don't know exactly how that would work, but I don't think there should be a tiered, because think about this. You could not have a let's just say a negligible 5 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour wind champion for years. You could go out there and be like, oh gosh, the wind's never going to get below 12 miles an hour or 8 miles an hour. Or, okay, I think it's 9 right now. I'm going to throw. Oh, sorry, it jumped up to 10 just as you were throwing. I don't like that personally. I like the indoor, outdoor. It's just going to be very difficult to do indoors, as we've seen. There's not a lot of places you can truly do it.
And it's going to be nearly impossible to break the outdoor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to clarify, I think you were confused earlier. 35 years old is Masters age.
Oh, I thought you were saying it was... I thought that's what you were saying for the entry fee.
Well, now Robert's clarifying on the board saying 40s is Masters age. Well, maybe we'll get to those details later, but
those are details. We leave that up to Alta World and all things disc golf for good details.
And one thing talked about is whether it's invite only. At the time, it's been open. It's just a matter of people knowing about it and then people learning of it much later after it was far too late.
Sure.
I think that is a question they're going to need to answer as to what the capabilities are. There's clearly a timing of it because you can only have one person throwing at once, and these markers and spotters, and that's part of the reason why they need to limit the competition as to how many people it can be, because you can't just have 100 people out there. And fair or not, we know there's
all of 10 people that can break the record right now. I mean, as much as we'd love to think that any pro can go out there and do it, it's not the case. We could Macbeth go out there if he trained at it and did worked on his distance, but he's even said, not my thing.
Yeah.
And so really it's a couple people that truly train for distance that can really go out there and do it. And so, what's the point? Even if you or I wanted to go out and do it, should we even be allowed?
No.
Knowing that? But you and I were talking earlier, they've got records for obviously every age, except for age 6, we found out. So there's never been a 6-year-old that's gone out and thrown. But are those open? Could I sign if my 7-year-old goes out and throws, we'll say 150 feet? Can I just sign him up and go out there? These are things that a little bit more promotion, a little bit more knowledge getting put out there is going to do wonders.
Well, and that's where I personally have put it upon myself to work closer with Robert moving forward and get more details so that hopefully I can be involved and be a little bit more knowledgeable as to what's going on so I can relay it to all of our amazing Smashies. And I don't know the exact number, but I want to say the organizer, Robert McLeod, threw 800-900 feet as well. I mean, through an absurd amount.
He's no slouch from what I've seen.
Got game.
I think someone said he's got a couple Guinness records and at one point 10 world records. I don't know, but
he's an all-around Frisbeetarian.
Frisbeetarian?
Yeah, doing all sorts of different things. So I don't have all of your records in front of me, but yeah, he does a lot of different things. So and awesome. He's also telling us that records can be attempted for virtually every age group, as in you could set up a record attempt for under 7, under 8, so on and so forth. So they break it down. Somebody maybe just hasn't tried
6. Maybe 5 and 7, just 6 hasn't been done, because we were looking at the records yesterday and I was going through and there was under 1. which is less than 3 feet. I think I saw it was under a meter. It was like 0.98 or something, or
Okay.
maybe it was 1.96. Either way, not far. And as someone said, the hardest part about that is getting him to stand up.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Both of my girls were standing by 9 or 10 months.
mine were 10 and 11, I believe. Oh, not my daughter. My son was 11 months, 10 months. Anyway, but if you go to the WFDF website, the WFDF, you can see they've got all sorts of awesome records. They've got wheelchair records. They have rolling records, indoor, outdoor, age, masters. They've got all sorts of crazy records for flying discs. So, get out there and take a look at the WFDF.
Robert himself had thrown 712 feet. So, again, not a slouch himself, as you said. Very impressive.
All right. We were asked, someone reached out to us and wanted us to make some people aware of a petition that's out there for I believe it's pronounced is it Yarva?
Yarva disc golf course.
Disc golf course. Looks like it may be closing due to a cemetery being built, and it looks like they're trying to take over some of the park. There is a petition out on change.org. It's a little tough to find because you can't search for Yarva because it's got the 2 dots, which I just looked up. I'm not super smart, but it's called a diaresis above one of the A's. So if you just look up the term European Masters on change.org, it will bring you right to the page because it's part of the description, because that's the course that they use for the European Masters. So go ahead, go out there. It's got like 6,000 signatures.
I don't think this is. I know they reminded us of it today. I don't believe this is new. I think this has been threatened either in the past.
I think it's been threatened in the past, maybe put off because they were signing. I think they created a new petition, and so it's on their change.org. Look for European Masters. Take care of that.
I have to repeat Rick's line because that's something I would say. He says, "I heard people are dying to play there."
Yes,
I appreciate that, Rick. Sadly that's something I would have said.
That's classy.
But didn't think of. I saw a good friend. Total side note for 2 seconds. Good friend LLK Zoo, our good friend Larry Laban, who's run multiple world championships. I saw on Facebook tonight that he posted that he's opening a pro shop, a brick and mortar pro shop. Sounds like he's sharing some space. So good luck to you, Larry. I know you've been hustling hard in disc golf, and opening a shop's no less of a hustle.
Yeah, one of the leaders of disc golf in the Midwest. Yeah, hands down.
PDGA 6903, if I had to guess off the top of my head. Super good guy.
Weirdo.
And LLK Zoo, we wish you the best of luck, buddy.
Do you have any news? I mean, the big news this week was the distance. All the rattling back and forth about that. Other than that, it was Easter.
Yeah.
So there weren't a lot of events going on. I was looking at the, let me see if I can bring it up here, the results. We didn't really talk too much about results other than let me pull it up right here.
Well, while you look for results, I was going to say, I had reached out to Wysocki, speaking of research, Yuli, listen up. I reached out to Wysocki a day or so ago, asking if he was in fact planning on being at the Mishawaka Open. I know he was Mishawaka Meltdown. I know he was in fact a late registrant. I had seen Schustrick's name on there forever, but Ricky's name came on there a little bit later, and I knew he was also way out near the West Coast or out in Utah. So I didn't know if he was planning on making that huge venture over. Mm-hmm. And so I had reached out to him, and unfortunately he got back to me tonight to confirm that he was going to be there. He's like, "Yeah, I'm here," but I was doing the research because I was thinking about not picking him because I just knew he had this big cross country, and maybe he just reserved a spot and wasn't really going to end up making it. But Ricky is confirmed. You know who's not confirmed to be at the event?
James Mosier.
James Mosier. But again, congrats on your win in Florida. So
there were a couple events that we didn't talk about. There was the one night stand presented by Innova in Tahunga, California.
In fact, I was going to say that specifically, I've played there.
Yeah.
Assuming it's where I believe that it is. That is played at Verdugo Hills Golf Course.
Okay.
I'm going to sound like an idiot if I screwed this up.
You might be.
But it would make sense because you can play there in the dark.
Oh, that's the night
That's the lit up golf course.
The one night stand, that would make sense.
Yes, and it's Verdugo Hills. It's a lot of fun. It's a 9-hole course that also has disc golf on it permanently, and it's under the lights. I remember 2 or 3 years ago visiting my boys out at Legacy and going out there in December and walked out. I was just about to get to the clubhouse to get checked in. It was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. It was dark, and somebody yelled from the parking lot, "Hey, you're the disc golf guy!" And ended up playing with him. It was a really good time. But
Nice.
I've been there once or twice since then, and it's a really cool experience to be able to go there 9 o'clock at night, totally dark, and you have to throw an incredibly bad shot to possibly lose a disc out there. Like, I mean, really.
Yeah, because it's pretty well lit up.
It's that well lit up, and it's a lot of fun.
So why don't you tell everybody who won, who finished where?
Looking over your shoulder, Brian Vaggi won. Took it down. It looks like shooting a pretty hot 87 for the weekend, or for the night on it. Philo, who won the last time I was there, he was there for the Christmas event. That's when I was last there, taking in that event. Philo took second. Looks like Chris Cornish. I can't read from here.
Yeah, Chris Cornish, no PDGA number. He might not be current.
And then Jeff Bennett is the name that sticks out to me there.
Yeah, Adam Aguilera takes 4th. Jeff Bennett takes 5th. So Jeff Bennett's 997 rated player. You know, if you went just by ratings, you'd kind of expect him to take, top 3. He's 5th.
He finished
solid.
5th, but I think the name why it stuck out is because Jeff Bennett is in fact a Michigan. I almost said Minnesota. A Michigan resident. So
he used to be. I don't know if does he still live there.
He tours. He's on the road.
Yeah, he's on the road. I don't know.
Does it still says
it
Canton,
says
Michigan.
Canton, Michigan. So
So anyway, saw that out there.
He has exactly 100 career wins.
Yes, I remember because I think he either had or got his 99th ace on his 99th win, or was looking for both on the same time.
That's right.
So we see the robot, Robert Smith, down there, competed in the weekend, who's top AM Worlds finisher from a couple years ago. So very, very cool.
So that's
all right.
That's about it for tournament results. I think we covered the rest of them in Yuli's picks. So
one thing I know you guys give me a hard time about it, and I don't care.
We do. Whatever. I don't know what we're talking about, but I'm sure
we
do.
And that's fine. 2 things. One, I'm going to start with birthdays. On Sunday was Ken Climo's birthday.
That is a relevant birthday.
I get a pass on that.
You get a pass on the greatest player to have ever touched a disc.
Okay.
Yes, his birthday.
So Ken Climo celebrated his 48th birthday on Sunday.
Wow, happy birthday, Ken.
And right behind him the next day, arguably also one of the greatest of all time, with not quite as many titles, Barry Schultz.
Yeah.
They have a birthday just a day apart. In fact, Avery Jenkins hit me up yesterday saying, all these years I didn't realize those 2 guys were back-to-back days. And so it was very cool.
Two guys that dominated the 90s and into the 2000s.
Yes, and I believe, calling them out, but I believe Barry turned 46 and Kenny turned 48. So happy birthday to both of them. Again, 2 icons and legends, and, arguably some of the best in the game, obviously. So happy birthday to them the last few days. Speaking of Kenny, I'll follow up on a discussion from last week.
Yeah. Is this the putter discussion?
It is. And so if you didn't watch the last video blog, a couple things you're missing out on. You're missing out on how the final hole went down again, where you can see it. And then secondly, due to my error, I finally announced what Kenny was throwing. I literally saved it for the last hole, his last putt of the tournament. And I mistakenly said, and that's Kenny putting with his pink PX1, and it in fact is a P1X, but whatever. Point is, I had transposed it. When I did the commentary on the previous version, I said it correctly. This time I didn't. Either way, you know what I mean. It's a P1X is what he was putting with. And I overheard him talking in the conversation earlier in the weekend just about the size of the bead, and he didn't have to wear down a KCA VR bead, and the bead on that was just the way he liked it already.
Wow, right out of the gate.
And I don't know if it's a permanent switch or it was just something that he's been using for the last few months, but yeah.
Kind of strange for him not to be throwing an Innova particular putter. I mean, I know
it's made by Innova, and it's all the same family.
It's all the same family, but it's not an Innova putter.
Yeah, and
it doesn't have his name on it.
That's yeah.
I mean, it's probably hopefully underneath of it does, but not on the top.
Yeah, so it was it was quite a debate, and I feel like an idiot because, again, I commentated it correctly the first time, and then there was an issue with the audio, so I re-commentated the entire back nine again.
Wow.
And re-uploaded it, which pushed it back another 4 hours or 5 hours when it was all said and done. And then after all of this hype, I call it a PX1 instead of a P1X. But either way, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So kind of
happy birthday out on the board to Eric Ramirez.
Yes, happy birthday, buddy.
So
we see that. Steve Dodge, as he always does, comes out with a little media action here on Tuesday.
He did.
Normally he's announcing a nice big sponsorship or some collaboration along in conjunction maybe with an article. But today's article talked about hashtag grow the sport.
Why? Why should we grow the sport?
Well, he had a lot of interesting points in there, and we don't want to ruin it all for you guys, but it's out there, and I've always said, and a lot of people who knew Steve really well know that his upbringing in disc sports is a little different than a lot of us. A lot of people were introduced to disc golf. You're out, you're playing, you're throwing, so that's how you know
He's an ultimate guy.
But him having an ultimate background as well, and what that's meant to him, and how that has shaped and helped mold his overall, Frisbee perspective, so to speak, it definitely factors in with the way he does things.
Sure.
So go out there and read it. And I've said it too. I think grow the sport means something different to everybody. Everyone's got their own definitions of it. I agree with somebody I saw post online that said some people like to just throw that tagline onto things and are like, oh, I'm selling a disc. Hashtag grow the sport. Like they think they're a new retailer, so you should just buy from them. And
no.
there may be, if you're a new retailer and you're very publicly have talked about how, 40% of your sales are going to this cause, that might be one angle. But some people love to just throw the tagline on it all.
Just selling something isn't necessarily growing the sport.
Or it's more of a stretch.
Ew, it's a real
because honestly, that's just it. If Dick's Sporting Goods, a major worldwide retailer or at least U.S. retailer, if they kind of went with the hashtag grow the sport regarding disc golf, is that the same as your local guy at the local shop who runs leagues?
Well, now you're saying runs league. That's different. Now, some guy who maybe just shows up. Here's a question: some guy who just shows up to the course, sells discs, maybe doesn't run leagues, doesn't really do much. He's known as kind of maybe a disc seller. Is that growing the sport as much as Dick's doing it? I mean, if Dick's puts out a big advertising campaign or a campaign that's hashtag grow the sport, it's arguably much bigger. So but I get it. Go out and read the article, Disc Golf Pro Tour, comment on it. Steve's pretty active out on a lot of web boards as well. If you're out on Disc Golf Course Review, he keeps an eye on that. So if you disagree or don't agree with him, tell him.
Let him know.
Yeah, because he's not one to shy away.
No,
he's a very smart guy,
and he's got a lot of great perspectives on things, and he's super supportive of Smashbox. So we'll take it. We'll take it. Take it where we can get it.
I was gonna say, we're getting towards the end. We'll have a little after show tonight, but let's quick talk about what you just got back from. You were at the Admirals game, the Milwaukee minor league hockey. And you, between the second and third period?
Yes. So
you were out on the ice. Did you fall?
I surprisingly did not.
Oh, never mind then.
Don't worry. It would get more views on YouTube if I did than if I didn't.
I know.
I should have just faked it and just wiped out. People would have loved it. So tonight was a really cool experience. A good friend of ours and disc golfer in the area who works with the organization, he had reached out to me telling me that Milwaukee County Parks, who is in collaboration with supporting the Milwaukee Admirals hockey team, they were having basically golf night. And it was really cool because people were getting a card or a pass that was good for one free round of disc golf or one free round of foot golf, or I think it was one free round of ball golf if you had already then bought a cart or something like that. But ultimately, a free round of golf.
Yeah, and in Milwaukee County, we charge for rounds of golf, and foot golf lately has been picked up at a lot of the local golf courses.
Yes, so just last year is when they went to pay to play. Milwaukee County had raised over $100,000 due to some really clever individuals. It was also noted that money, that $100,000, has to then be ultimately spent back and put back into disc golf. So thank you to our local clubs for working on that. But all these different, just awesome seeing up on the screen, and there's going to be a vlog, but up on the screen and recognized is the sport of disc golf right there with golf and right there with foot golf. And they all have their, now they all have their niches, really.
Yeah.
One doesn't just dominate, but they all have their niches. And so they had pre-selected some random contestants. I don't think any of them had ever played, any kind of disc golf. And there was a basket that somebody else had that they brought out on the ice. And they basically had 4 guys start at one end of the goal or one end of the rink and throw to the other end and try and play a round of golf or a hole of golf. And they kind of got down. I think I gave them all a quick pointer at the beginning. I said, throw it as high as you can in the air. Let the wind take. No, I'm just kidding. I said, throw it low, throw it flat. And I think there were 2 3s and 2 4s. And then the 3s had a playoff. And they had to make, I don't know if it was 20, 25 feet. One guy made it and another guy missed for never throwing disc before.
It's not bad.
I was somewhat impressed here. And then the MC gentleman came over. He asked me 1 or 2 questions. I think he asked, I don't remember what it was, but I was so nervous. No, he asked me a question or two while I was out on the ice. Any tips? He asked about that, and I gave a couple quick tips, and then just gave some accolades to the park system.
Cool.
And a good friend, Gary to the O, Dane, and as well as Dane, they were both out there, and there's gonna be a vlog from it. I tried to do a little bit more before and after stuff. It was kind of exciting. And we had a lot of questions like Smashbox TV and the disc golf guy, and I was wearing my media pass, my media badge,
Jeez.
which you'd be surprised like what these do for you.
I bet.
Just even walking around at the game, because we got up there for the tickets. They had comped us some tickets, and they're like, "Oh, media? Yeah, you need to go in the other side." I'm like, "No, I didn't take advantage of it because
You should have.
I should have.
That's a better story. Now, where on the ice were you? Were you right in the middle? Or were you on one end?
Well, they for them, they started on one end, and I was a little confused, but they started on one end and ultimately threw to the other end, played a hole of golf, and then we kind of met at the other end. Oh, and then
did they have to throw it into the net? Is that
no? They had a basket. It was a real
okay,
inexpensive basket,
sure,
portable basket that I didn't bring.
Were you tempted to try to throw one into the net from one side?
For a second, and then he was kind of asking like, well, how far can could you make it from? He's like, could you make it from the other side? And I had 2 Smashbox discs in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, no, that's that's a long way to make it.
Yeah.
And he's like, how about from half? I'm like, no. He's like, well, how about from this blue line? I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was still like a 50, 70,
sure,
75 footer.
Yeah.
And I understand he doesn't know the game.
He doesn't know the distances and how hard it is.
I mean, clearly a puck from that distance, no big deal, but into the net. And so, but then I got into position. He's like, well, let's give it a try. So I walk over and get in position. There's a mini basket sitting there. They've replaced the regular basket and put a mini basket right where the goal is.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, well, and I kind of jokingly said, I'm like, that's a mini basket. Like,
yeah.
And sure enough, I kind of stood there. And you're trying just not to slip, for starters.
Okay.
So I stood there with a standstill and threw, and it wasn't more than a foot right, maybe 2 feet.
From
I
how
don't know.
far?
80 feet, 60, 70, 80 feet.
Okay.
I don't recall now, but
All right.
It wasn't that far. But I knew I wouldn't be able to get a good push off with an actual putt.
Sure.
It was far enough that I wasn't about to try and jump putt. Jump putt in.
You should have step putted.
Yeah, step putted.
Step putted on the ice.
But
so someone could yell foot fault from the stands.
Some dickbag would. Foot fault.
I so would have done that. I wish I could have gone.
But I was wearing dress shoes, and I wasn't about to try and jump or step putt or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I threw, and it was just off. Had it hit the basket, I mean, it was pretty much right on line, just wide right by a foot or two. Had it hit it, it would have probably knocked over the mini basket.
Knocked over the mini basket.
So it's unfortunate. I mean, there was a little misstep there, but so I threw one, and I had another disc in my hand, so I threw it again, and I was 3 feet, 5 feet left. And then I will say, we walked off the ice. He said thanks and whatever. And then he came up and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't embarrass you." I'm like thinking, no, trust me, I embarrassed myself.
I do that well enough.
But he, I didn't. He was good. Like I know he maybe just thought the distances he didn't know, and therefore.
Sure.
But anyway, it was a really cool experience. I gotta thank Bill. I gotta thank Milwaukee County Parks. I gotta thank the Admirals, and then of course Dane and Gary for coming out and helping record it. And it was a really cool experience.
Were the Admirals winning?
They did. They were winning. They were winning 2-1, and that's what I knew. And this was between the second and third periods is when this
Okay.
took place. So we'll have to go out and look, but
Awesome.
yeah, it was a cool experience. I'm glad to be able to make a vlog about it and put it on my resume.
Cool.
I'm like a professional skater type.
Didn't fall down.
I didn't
Just
fall.
put that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this show up. We'll get into some after show talk. And yeah.
We'll go from there. All right. So tonight, going the distance. Hey-oh, so clever. We would love to thank Paul Ulibarri for letting me beat him each week and for joining us. We would love to thank Jennifer Allen, your new women's world record holder. We'd love to thank David Wiggins as well as Simon Lizotte, who always keeps us entertained. Not which is their huge throws, but their off-the-course antics and conversations. I'd like to thank Robert McLeod for giving all these people the opportunity to go out and break these records and for assisting us here on Smashbox. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the ice skate and disc golf guy, we'll catch you guys next week for podcast 83 when you step inside the Smashbox. What? Welcome back, everyone. This is podcast 82's after show. We are here live in the Milwaukee studios. Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. We just wrapped up with our regular podcast, which started a few minutes late.
It did because, as we discussed, you were just hopefully, if you're hearing the after show right now, you were paying. you have downloaded the regular show, and for those of you that are live, you just heard Terry was at the Admirals game doing a demo.
Yeah, so it was a pretty exciting night, and
How many people were in the stands for that demo? Was it one of the bigger demos you've done, you could say?
Well, that's a good question. The crowd, I've learned that the crowd at these games, even come playoff times, apparently isn't that monstrous.
No,
yeah, a couple
thousand
thousand
usually.
ish.
Sure.
I'm not really sure, but I learned a lot about hockey tonight. I'll admit I'm not a big hockey aficionado, but a good friend, Dane Miller, used to play for many, many years. Very, very credible resource.
Very much so.
And yeah, it was interesting. So we had a good time with that. And now we're here in the after show. Wind, distance, all those things were talked about in the regular podcast, and near the end of the show, if you didn't get all the way to it, Robert McLeod from the WIFDIF organization informed us that there will only be an indoor record and an outdoor record from this point moving forward, which is what it is right now. They're not talking about tiering the different wind speeds. Personally, I'm a big fan of that. I understand the simplicity of them not doing it. I would have been a really big fan of that, but we shall see, and we shall maybe David Wiggins will live in history or go down in history as the furthest throwing disc golfer of all time.
I mean, I said it
Which
on the chat board. I can't imagine anyone beating that.
no,
Not at an organized competition.
yeah, because unless the stars align again,
Yep.
to give you those types of wins, because you need not only the skill of the player, but then you need the wins. You need both
Yeah.
of those to align on just the right weekend or
Yeah.
set of days.
Yeah. I with the current PDGA standards or WFDF standards, WIFDF standards, whatever. Now they just rely on PDGA for those, for discs. Like someone was asking, how come I can't throw an Epic?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
How come I can't throw an, Aerobee is still the furthest thrown,
Frisbee,
not Frisbee,
I know, but-
furthest thrown thing by
Object?
a human, object by a human.
Really?
Yeah, furthest thrown propelled, 1,330 feet, I think I
Yep.
saw.
Yeah. So clearly there are some specs, and we'll be the first to admit we're not up on all the WIFDIF standards, but there are some specs out there as to what can and can't be used. And obviously, an Aerobie doesn't fit that category. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would be declared as such.
Exactly.
So we'll have to get back to you with all those details. Is it WFDF.org? Is that?
I believe it is.
I was just taking a guess at that. If somebody wants to know more of what we're talking about, you can go check it out.
Yeah, they've got roller distances.
There
They've
you go. Which
all
stands
sorts of
for
crazy stuff.
World Flying Disc Federation, WFDF. wfdf.org, and it's just commonly said and referred to as WIFDIF. So just to clarify any confusion that might be out there. Adulting, some people talking about as to what they have going on the board. Here in the after show, of course, a lot of it is interactive. If you want to send us questions, you want to chat on the chat board or send me a private question so that I do or don't call you out on asking said question, that would be fine. Johnny, you talked about a contest earlier that wasn't just specific to the live. So
it was.
If you're listening to this, but you're still before the...
If you haven't had a chance to listen to the regular show and you're just listening to the after show, Disc Golf Nerd, just like it sounds, Disc Golf Nerd, go out on Facebook, look him up. He's giving away an Icon Outlaw. I believe you just need to make a comment on that particular thread. And next Tuesday, he'll randomly pick a winner, and we'll announce it on the show next week, Tuesday.
And by Tuesday, just depending on when you're listening, that is, in fact, April 5th. So this has got to be done by April 5th. If you're not in it by then and you're listening now, you're late. So April 5th is the date that we're referencing to put that out there. Questions out on the board asking about various speeds of discs and if those were even thrown or used. I think I don't want to say I think it's safe to say. I know it's safe to say that one of the most preferred distance drivers that's been used and broken records has in fact been the Boss.
Correct.
And that's generally on the male side.
Blizzard.
It frequently has been Blizzard. David Wiggins has set records with Blizzard Bosses in the past, and this time when he set the record, he was using an R Pro Boss, so 154 gram R Pro Boss.
I remember the first time I threw the R Pro Boss. The very first time I threw it, I thought, "Oh, this is a decent disc." You know, it's a little understable. And then I think I hit a tree with it, and I could never throw it again. Those things, they don't beat well.
Yeah, the R Pro material, depending on the exact disc, sometimes didn't take too well.
Yeah, the actual fresh out of which I'm sure how they're throwing most of them are pretty not beat up, are pretty solid. But other than that, geesh.
Talking about wind, we've kind of already discussed that. What's the next event you guys have planned? As of right now, in terms of live coverage, the next event we're going to be live at is, in fact, the GBO, the Glass Blown Open. We're going to be doing a variety of things that week, just like we did last year. We're talking about
podcasts, after shows,
and after show type stuff, and then obviously the live round coverage. So
you'll be joined by Dixon during the round.
Yep.
For some commentary.
Dixon Jowers is going to be working with us and doing some stuff, and then at night we're going to have kind of a condensed highlight review show, and then after that it may get a little bit looser with some other stuff. So you're going to be inundated with more good Smashbox stuff. The week before, however, I think you're going to see myself and our good buddy Joe at the Nick Hyde Memorial, and I think we're going to probably maybe as early as next week have Matt Seary step inside the Smashbox, talk a little bit about his event. I know his AM side is almost full, and then his pro side has some huge names at it. So look for Matt Seary to kind of give us an update. That's kind of one of those borderline events that's NT-ish quality that could fight hard for an NT that just happens to not be this year, but the competition's solid, the payout's ridiculous, and the course is great. So I'm glad to be going down there for that. So that's what's going to be happening. Those are the next major things that are going to be going on. Chip asking if we knew about Smuggler's Notch using y'all's video. That I guess I'm going to have to look into that, exactly what you're talking about. I know I worked with Smuggler's Notch in terms of being there last year. So I recorded stuff. We had a great collaboration. I'm not sure if there's something new that's out that I'm unaware of, but I'm guessing it's all good. So, but I'll take a look and see as to what you're talking about.
Kevin McCoy says, while you're there, you might as well cover the shootout at the OK Corral on Monday after the Nick Hyde.
I'd be curious to know more details about this, Kevin, because I just may be in a vehicle traveling from one spot to another. So depending on what you're talking about, there may be an option there. Bobby Romo, good night. Thank you. I brought a disc along. One of the common requests, which also happens to delay support disc going out, is people wanting Johnny V's and myself signature. It's always a challenge of remembering to bring one to have us sign it. I believe Bobby is one of those super gracious sponsors, and I brought some discs tonight, so they're going to get signed, and they're likely going to go out tomorrow or the next day. I'm going to be doing some traveling tomorrow, so I brought a couple discs for us to sign. Yeah. So thank you, Bobby. We appreciate it. The 5th is his birthday. Oh, Tim, happy birthday, because we won't remember that next week. So happy birthday, buddy. It's interesting. Simon can't throw Innova on the course as per his contract, but he can throw the boss in the desert. That'd be a Simon question.
Yeah.
But that, I guess, is interesting. I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably already know this, but Innova does, in fact, mold Discmania discs. And frequently, many of the players, if you're sponsored by at least Innova, you can throw Discmania or Innova discs, typically, unless there's something unique in your contract. And it's usually, I thought, was always the other way around. Now, it sounds as if Simon himself is throwing exclusively Discmania. I think he's said that before. But, yeah, I mean, I guess it's an exhibition. It's a slightly different thing. And I think UC... If somebody asks UC this very question, he may say, for the distance and for the competition and for the sake of what they're trying to accomplish, they don't have a disc yet that
correct
does what.
I don't know if Discmania has a Blizzard style of plastic. I don't know. I mean, I know DD has their Air, but I don't think Discmania has anything that light, that style of plastic. So maybe that's what it is. And if Discmania comes out with one, maybe then Simon will use that.
Tyler says that Lamar Odom has great arm speed. I don't know what that's in reference to, but I know he's back on the scene, so him in the court.
Is Dana Discmania exclusive?
Kardashian? I was talking about the Kardashians here. What are you talking about Dana for? Okay.
I believe Dana is Discmania exclusive.
I don't believe he is.
No.
Sponsored by Discmania.
Sponsored by Discmania, but he can use Innova.
I believe so.
Okay.
But that's a Dynamite question. But I believe that's the case.
He's
for
in Mexico right now. Hopefully he's watching.
I'm sure he is, because what else would you be doing on vacation?
Yeah. It's late in Mexico. He might, just be chilling out in the pool,
Drinking
put it on a Chromecast or something at the pool.
A Corona Light? I don't know.
That's right.
We'll have to ask some of these questions.
They do have Blizzard Discmania, someone says.
Well, there you go.
I didn't know that.
I didn't dispute you because I didn't know.
Because you didn't know
true.
For sure.
Yes. So now you look like the dum-dum.
Get out of my house. I mean, my studio. Get out of my studio.
Country Disc Golf says, I've asked about how to get more PDGA tournaments in Mississippi. Happy to say the PDGA tourneys are on the rise so far. I know of 8 that already are on the schedule. 1 was added today and 1 more soon. That's great. Sometimes it just takes somebody to break out of the mold. Again, we've talked about pockets that may or may not be PDGA supportive or friendly, and just might take the right supporter or person to break out of that mold and say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Get on board or not. Maybe somebody really likes you and what you're doing, and if you become sanctioned, so to speak, then people will get on board with it. Okay. Such a let's see what else we can find out here. This is my 3rd birthday. I'll be playing. Oh, you're a little older than that, Joe. Fairfield, one of the best. Yes, it is. Simon said that only Discmania that he could break the distance record with a C-line DD2. But it doesn't have a flat enough finish. Spending the weekend in Chicago. Can you share anything about the page sponsorship information or situation yet? Nothing I can share. I'll leave it at that. Nothing. There's nothing I can share. So we'll talk to her at GBO. Yeah, that's fair. I'd say we'll talk to her at GBO, but there's nothing else out there that I can share with anyone at the moment. But it does make me laugh. Sorry. She obviously doesn't want to be with Prodigy anymore. That may be one angle or take someone could say. I can't comment on that. Page's Discmania, that I don't want to share anything. Paige should announce on the after show. Well,
if something's gonna get announced, she's coming here.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, we're good like that. All right, sorry, I'm getting caught up. I will give a shout out to our boy Tommy. He's a Smashy supporter. He is running an Illinois Charity Open benefiting St. Jude on May 28th and 29th. He's reserved a phenomenal piece of property there in Chicagoland area. So May 28th and 29th, which is the same weekend the St. Jude event is taking place. I trust many of you from the Midwest aren't necessarily going out to Seaside, California. So if you're not, finding yourself over at Tommy's event would be a good idea. Tommy has, in fact, also started a little rivalry from Wisconsin to Illinois in terms of St. Jude fundraising, and I think we're looking forward to stepping up to that challenge and blowing them away. Which brings us to another point. We certainly need to talk about nailing down our 24-hour disc golf podcast-a-thon.
Do I get to sleep during that?
I don't care.
Oh,
I'll
awesome.
carry the show. I'm good with that.
That's good.
I've got no problem staying up that long. So, yes, we need to nail down that date, and we hope to raise a ton of money. We want to have hourly sponsors. We want to have different fun ways to have fundraisers, and we're really looking forward to it. So, save some time on your calendar whenever we do that. But 24 straight hours of Smashbox podcast.
I don't like that.
We're going to actually maybe have a little open-ended suggestion box leading into it. We're going to have sponsor opportunities. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good time.
It should be a lot of fun.
It will probably be shot and filmed with our friend Nate Heinold over near the Ledgestone Insurance Open in Peoria, Illinois area. So if you're within hours of driving there and you want to somehow participate, we could, if you want to step up and somehow be a sponsor or supporter in some way, reach out, because we could possibly have you, involved there. Kenny did he mention why he switched to the P1X? It was something about a bead, the size of the bead. He said something or other about, wearing in his KC AVRs versus the P1X having a slightly smaller bead kind of right out of the gate. And that was what I caught of the conversation when he was talking about it. So don't quote me. I could be making all this up.
You probably are.
I am, just to get people worked up. That would work well with a lot of guests, having people. If Jake is still here, we should both try to watch you guys should definitely. Live audience? Kevin, if you want to come join us. And I would go as far as saying this, Kevin, certainly, if you were to be in the live audience or wanted to be there,
take my place.
You could step in, and we would certainly have you co-host and have you join us. And clearly, we're going to need
23 hours of quality stuff
we're going to need a plethora of guests. So someone like yourself is clearly a perfect fit to have you involved. It might be in that 4 to 5 a.m. time frame for you. No, but we'd love to have. We're going to have a ton of guests, and again, I want every hour to be brought to you by a sponsor. Just think, if we got every hour brought to you, maybe there's a prime first hour and a prime last hour at $200, but the 20 other 2 hours are at $100 a piece.
Yeah,
that's 22 plus 4, $2,600 right there. I think that's a no-brainer.
Okay.
So, get on it, people, for that date we haven't set.
Call-ins welcome or guest only. Yeah, call-ins are gonna. I'm sure we'll have an hour of call-ins.
Yes, we will have.
Remember, we're gonna have 24 hours to fill.
It's gonna be like a 22-hour after show. Is how I'm gonna. It's gonna be a little bit loose.
And the funny part is, I don't think we'll probably put it out as a podcast. Like an actual audio podcast.
It'll be exclusive.
It'll probably be exclusively
video. If people
video.
complain about our 4-hour live rounds, what do you think they're going to think about our 24-hour podcast?
I should put that out there as like this monster file that they have to download on their phone.
It fills a brand new phone in one podcast. That would be pretty good. So, no, we're super excited about it. So if you've got ideas, or better yet, you've got sponsorship, I'll set out the time slots. We'll create a document, and the quickest people to sponsor get their first. We'll get first choices. I think I'm going to unofficially call it that's what we'll probably do, is have a $200 opening hour, $200 closing hour sponsorship, and $100 for every other hour. And it's all going right to St. Jude. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have everything roll in, and it's all going to be part of this greater, because when it's all said and done, Nate Heinold's looking at writing a $30,000 check or more to St. Jude.
That'd be phenomenal.
Cheap, yeah, it's totally cheap. That's 8,000 cans of Mountain Dew. I wonder if I could break the Mountain Dew for a night. I may have to get on it.
I don't know if no.
It sounds delicious. This is what it sounds like.
How was your Easter? What did you do this Easter?
Nothing too crazy. I sold discs. I didn't sell. Yeah, I sold discs at a
Went
park.
down to the park.
On Saturday. Sunday was spent with time with family, which obviously comes along very rarely these days. But yeah, you got to. I got a little crazy on the eating, which I don't think is all too unique to me, but
just like eating a lot or eating just unhealthy.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, it's kind of a holiday thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I've got all this really delicious homemade food probably, and I can kind of let myself pig out.
Yeah, so it was good. And you spent some time at a water park.
Yeah, we left Friday. We decided to skip family time, and my family, my wife and my 2 kids went with a couple other families to Blue Harbor Resort, which is like an indoor water park. It's perfect for kids age probably 10 and under. After that, they might be a little bit big because there's only 2 big slides for them. There's 2 little slides for little kids. There's like one of those wave rider things where you can, which is a lot of fun. And there's a lazy river and a pool and a hot tub. But
what more could you want?
What more could you want? It was a lot of fun until I found out as we got out of the car after returning from Sheboygan, which is about an hour away. My wife says,
I forget.
I forgot all the jackets in the closet. All of our winter jackets. So we called them right away, and thankfully they found them. They put them aside. We're going to grab them this weekend as we drive up north. It'll be about 20 minutes out of our way, but we'll get them hopefully, and there'll be all the good fun stuff. So that kind of rolled my eyes at that, like, ugh.
I didn't make a plug for it in the regular show, and we'll talk about a little bit about it next week. I'm hoping it's sold out by then, but not this weekend, but next. I'll be also hosting a PDGA B tier.
I'm actually thinking about playing.
There you go. PDGA B tier. Innova presents the Skyline Classic. Innova stepped up in a major way. I'm very welcoming of various sponsorships and people that want to get on board and support us in a video capacity, but even when I'm running events, and I like working with a lot of different companies, and in this particular case, Innova stepped up big, and I'm super excited about it. It's at a course that me and a good friend designed. It's rated one of the higher courses in Wisconsin. It's in southeastern Wisconsin, just over the good border, bad border, over the border of Illinois by just a few minutes. And it's just a gorgeous park, and it's not muddy and wet and destroyed right now like a lot of parks
That's
are.
Good. Is there a division that's like better than open that I can play?
No, Macbeth won't be here, so
No. Okay, then I'm going to stick with advanced.
there you go. That's the players.
I want to give the open players a chance.
Yes.
So I usually play better than open or advanced now.
That is where you should be. That's a good place for you. So
Well,
that's next weekend. April 9th is the all pro divisions and advanced men, and April 10th is every other division, and that day is almost sold out.
Yeah, I was trying to think. We threw one round this winter.
Yep.
And other than that, I don't think I've touched a disc since Labor Day.
Yeah.
Or Memorial Day, whatever, which ends in September.
So you're just like Simon. You just don't warm up. Go out there and break records.
I'll say this. I'm known for playing really well off the couch the first round of a tournament and then just tanking hard that second round.
So you pulled a Yuli.
Yeah, I pulled a Yuli. That's usually what I do. Except when Yuli pulls a Yuli, he takes 5th.
Oh.
When I pull a Yuli, it's like
25th.
20 if I'm lucky. Are there 25 people there?
25 people competing. Yeah, I may not even have be able to talk about it in terms of hopefully being sold out by next week. I also did have a quick conversation with our good friend Mike Batka. Actually, I didn't. I've kind of missed his calls, but I know what he wants to talk about. He's the host of Am Worlds, and we've committed at Smashbox to be involved with Am Worlds in probably a couple of different ways. One of which I think you're going to see some type of live podcast done on Tuesday night, which is our normal time, date, schedule, all that stuff. Tuesday night, which will be really the first day AM Worlds has completed itself in terms of the competition. So Tuesday night, live podcast taking place from Madison, Wisconsin. So look for that. And then we're looking at something later in the week, probably Thursday, maybe some other day or multiple nights, but probably Thursday night as well. Again, it could be some kind of question and answer session, could be a live podcast, or a mix of the two, but we're looking forward to do something really unique at AM Worlds, which is taking place about an hour and a half west of where we're at, so in Madison, Wisconsin. So very exciting stuff. Smashbox will be present. The Disc Golf Guy, vlogging will be present. I'll have a presence in multiple ways at AM Worlds, and Johnny and I are going to be doing some things for you guys. So that's pretty exciting. We'll be talking about that more, obviously, as it moves forward. So super excited about it. Is Ledgestone sold out? One of the questions was. No, it's not. When I talked to Nate a few days ago, I want to say there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 700-ish people. I think they have some absurd capacity, like 1,200 or 1,300 overall, but I want to say 700 or so possible. 700 people registered in various divisions. There's a funny picture that was posted online of me from tonight. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, there's a Dane, our good friend, posted a picture of you up on the jumbo board.
Is that a fat joke?
I can make it one.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Okay, good. Yeah, sweet. Thank you, Dane. He's posted a picture. I haven't gotten a chance to check out the social medias very much, obviously, since running into the house and getting online. Media battle should be podcast only. It was supposed to be a grudge match between Smashbox and DG Answer Man. I agree. That's exactly how it started. And yeah, you and Wysocki started a podcast. Okay, that's fine. You guys can do it, and you're a team. But we need Wysocki to first put out his first 3-hour podcast alone first. And then...
How many you knows? He should just call it the podcast.
I'm just saying.
Ricky Wysocki,
I'm just saying. Once he gets his first 3-hour podcast out, then he will in fact be.
If it requires a 3-hour podcast, we're going to be the only people at that media battle.
Oh yeah.
Even with a second podcast that the DD guys are doing now, they're inside the circle. They're still not hitting our weekly 3-hour.
Please.
So
bring it, boys. Disc Golf Answer Man, boys. Something or other. Plus Paige. Is she carrying that show now officially?
Off and on.
I mean,
she's got school stuff, and she'll be running that show shortly.
It should be Terry, JVD, and Zoe versus EMAC, CDSB, and Paige Bjerkes. That brings an interesting dynamic into it. That would be an interesting. Yeah, that would certainly be an interesting battle. I think they'd have the slight edge on us. Bjerkes and Zoe, they match up pretty good. I think Bjerkes has the slight edge. Yeah, we'll see.
That's why we can't just make it best shot. We have to.
Oh no, I agree. There's got to be some unique format: best shot, worst shot, alternate.
Yeah, I think rotate, best, alternate, worst, or something like that.
Yeah, it definitely just best shot. Just overall is, I think, incredibly boring. Regardless of who's playing, almost. Where has Zoe been? Good question, actually. Zoe reaches out to us usually on Tuesday night about 3 minutes before we go live, and she tells us what crazy city or state or situation she's involved in. Sometimes that situation ends with saying, "So yes, I'll be there at such and such time," or "I'll catch you guys next week."
Yep.
So we'll take her whenever we can. We obviously love and adore her input and her thoughts and direction. And we take it when we can. So she's here and there. And again, we've already talked about there was no Dana on the previous podcast, or obviously here tonight because he's in fact in Mexico. So alternate how you throw.
Oh, he's saying no, we're not going to throw opposite handed or anything like that. Do you have any picks this week? Do you have anything that had fun? I watched all of Daredevil season 2 on Netflix. It was good, not quite as good as the first season, but still a well worth watching. Better than, from what I understand, better than Batman versus Superman. That's getting some awful reviews.
Is it? Yes.
Horrible.
I think I've seen that as well.
And I haven't seen it. I probably won't go to the theater and see it. Maybe I'll see if it hits a budget.
Is that because it's gotten so many bad reviews now that you don't feel like it's going to be worth it? 'Cause
Yeah.
That's something that you would have been all
which
over.
is funny because it made more money than almost any other movie has, but it is
Is
getting...
it just let down more people?
Yes, I think so. I think it's let down more people. If it was getting some awesome reviews, I'd probably make some time to go see it.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I'm just going to maybe wait till it hits the budget and then kind of check it out or rent it when it comes to video on demand. Wow, I've just heard some really bad things. But Daredevil season 2 is really good. Not quite as good as season 1, like I said, but it's quality. It pushes the story along, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And I haven't got a chance to see Deadpool yet. I'm a little disappointed with that.
Yeah, that's something I would like to see myself. It seems like something that I would enjoy, although that's not typically.
Correct.
Yeah,
it's tongue-in-cheek humor, kind of.
Why would? I don't know that I have necessarily any picks. I just have tomorrow. I'm going over the border. I'm taking my 2 girls who have off of school for spring break here, and going to go visit my aunt, who I haven't seen in a couple of years, but visit my aunt and my grandmother down in a Chicago suburb, Lombard, Illinois.
Nice.
And looking forward to heading down there for a little bit of a road trip this weekend. I'll be out at the Gray Fox course that some of you have already known and talked about. I'll be out there wrangling up last-minute registrations and checking out some course conditions. The course itself looks pretty dry and good to go, except for there's just some down trees and there's some emerald ash disease or something that was I don't know, some disease that took out quite a few trees, but it didn't impact the course too much. So I'll be doing a little bit of that this weekend. So I'm going to be seeing plenty of you guys in the next couple of weeks coming to the event. Should be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Then we gear up. April gets crazy with all the places we're going and all the things we're doing. All right. I don't know that I have much else, unless you guys have something else off the board that's incredibly provocative that we need to make sure we address. I don't have too much more for everyone out there. It's been a pretty good, crazy night.
It has.
We've got some discs to ship out. We do appreciate it. We still have some of our run from last year of discs that were done. I've got some KC AVR, some DX AVR, some Champ Glow Destroyers, 1 or 2 Star Destroyers left, some Glow Thunderbirds, Glow Firebirds, all Smashbox stamp stuff. We worked with Innova. If you didn't catch that, we had worked with Innova late last year to do that. We're going to be doing other manufacturers moving forward as well. So if you're interested in any of those and you want to support Smashbox, we have Smashbox t-shirts that are getting great reviews. Everyone that's gotten one that Miles had recently released, people are enjoying those. So we're just super glad to have that stuff available and have you guys supporting it. Speaking of supporters, we won't get too political, but taking place here in Wisconsin tonight was in fact the GOP debate.
Today was the GOP debate. I believe it's Tuesday, so we should be voting. It's today.
2 hours ago? I think that's next week.
Oh yes, you're right, because they're here all week.
Yeah.
You're right. It's April 5th. Yeah.
I'll just say about that, I actually just had to drive around it because going to this Milwaukee Admirals hockey game,
probably relatively close.
Yeah, they were literally just a few blocks. The debate was taking place. I saw some protesters out in the street as we were walking.
Sweet.
All that obvious stuff. Again, I'm not getting into any politics other than the fact that it was just taking place here.
Yeah, I avoided going downtown today. In general, I was going to drive through downtown, and I kind of thought better of it. And I was like, I'll wait till tomorrow.
Probably the best bet. Bowling Green AMs, I think we mentioned it last week. We're not going to have any part of Bowling Green AMs in the sense that I will be at the Nick Hyde. I believe that's going on the same weekend. And I know a lot of our pros are kind of scattered doing all these different things, but I think the Bowling Green AMs is the same weekend as Nick Hyde. And I know there's going to be some, Drew Gibson's one example. I believe he's going to be at Bowling Green AMs. And I know Mike Barnett from Sun King and Discraft, he's going to be there. So there's going to be a lot of great representation. But me specifically, I'll be hanging out at the Nick Hyde covering the open coverage over there. So looking forward to that. Anyone have a review suggestion? Not sure what to try next. You should review podcasts. And who's got the best podcast?
No, I'm sure you're going to probably review the Colossus. That's the new one that's coming out.
If he hasn't already.
Yeah.
It's already out.
And I think there's a new DD disc, the Defender? No, not Defender. I don't know. Listen to their podcast. They'll tell you what their new disc is. But yeah, there's a lot of new plastic out there. It's plastic season. Never ends.
Yeah, there's plenty. Oh, Disc Golf Box Company. There you go. I'm going to talk about them real briefly. I have their latest release. In fact, I'm going to shoot the video immediately following the conclusion of tonight's podcast. I apologize that I haven't gotten it out. I've been just so crazy running around. They sent me another box. I'm going to open it, review it, talk about what's in it, and so there's my shout-out. I'm going to give them a shout-out. I do appreciate you guys working with me, and I appreciate your patience because I haven't gotten it out as quickly as possible. PDX, DDX, the Destiny. I think Destiny's a stripper that's out. I think she's been released. No? I don't know. Just making things up. SS Crank, is it crazy unstable? I need distance with my noodle arm, something other than a turn. Yeah, a Crank SS. I don't know if it's crazy unstable, but it's
flippy.
It's going to be less stable than some of the other counterparts. So,
yeah, I mean, if you have noodle arm, stay away from anything high speed. It's just no point. Go with like a beast or a leopard or the equivalent in some other plastic.
Maybe a witness.
Witness.
Can I get a witness? Something, the new Undertaker's out by Discraft, which again we're going to be shipping out a couple of those, 4 of those, I think 4 or 6 of those to be exact, from last week. Saint is flying good and loving the frost plastic. All right, third time's a charm. I'm calling it officially. We've got Johnny V and myself. We appreciate you guys sticking around. Not a lot of substance here tonight, but that's what the after show's known for. Not a lot of. That should be our tagline. Not a lot of substance.
Not a lot of substance.
So have a great night. That was podcast after show 82. Looking forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday night. I bet you we have an amazing show lined up. We just have to think of it. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smash Box.